Chapter 224. The winter in the tribe was still filled with endless snowflakes and extremely cold weather. Yanji and the others were on the mountain. In such weather, they couldn't survive alone. Fortunately, they were taken care of. The people in the tribe had never looked forward to the end of winter so much. In the ritual ceremony after the end of winter, not only the newly arrived tribesmen who had been living outside would participate in the awakening, but also the fire crystals, which the tribe was looking forward to the most. The warriors rubbed their palms and didn't forget to exercise in winter. Even if they couldn't run far, many people moved stones at home to practice. They wanted to be in the best state during the ritual ceremony. They didn't want to be weak after winter. Xiaofan often ran up the mountain. The shaman and the chief had been planning to go back to the old land. Every time, they would call Xiaofan to go there. When he was free, Xiaofan would go to the medicine house to help the guizhe sort out the herbs. The tortoise in the medicine house, which was responsible for dealing with the dregs of herbs, had grown a lot. Its shell was 2 meters high. It was unknown whether it was because of the successful engraving or because it often ate herbs, but the tortoise grew faster and stronger. The ridges on its shell were more prominent. It looked more difficult to deal with it than the crocodiles of the drumming tribe. Every time Xiaofan went there, the tortoise would bite Xiaofan, but every time, it would be slapped aside by Xiaofan with a knife. When the moon came out again after winter, the tribe was excited. Old Ku, who had been taken care of for a whole winter, looked radiant and healthy, and looked much younger. On the day of the ritual ceremony, Xiaofan took out the fur of the giant bear he had hunted last year. This was what he would wear in the ritual dance. In order to hunt this giant bear, Xiaofan had chased it for more than 10 days. Have you prepared the clothes? Have you gotten rid of the worms on the bear skin? Yes. Hey, old Ku, don't you need to get rid of the bear claws? They are in the way. Wearing the bear claw gloves, Xiaofan couldn't see where the fingers were. Anyone who looked at it would see the black bear claws. No. Claws are awesome. Okay. And the bear tooth necklace. Don't forget this. Old Ku quickly put the bear tooth necklace on Xiaofan's neck. The big white carrot-like bear teeth were strung together. It looked a little weird to wear it on the neck. Even a slender neck wouldn't be able to support such a thick necklace. This was not unexpected among the tribe's living beings. Then I'll go up the mountain first. You can go up with Caesar later. Cha-cha, find a place to play by yourself. Don't go too far. Xiaofan shouted at the eagle in the sky. All right, hurry up and go up the mountain. Maybe the shamaness and the leader have something to tell you. Xiaofan was chased out of the house by old Ku and walked up the mountain. Today, everyone was dressed to the nines. If one didn't look carefully, one wouldn't be able to recognize who was who. Although he had participated in many sacrificial ceremonies, Xiaofan still couldn't help but feel like he was at a gathering of wild beasts every time. Looking around, there were people wearing leather, horns, bone ornaments, snakeskin belts, animal bone masks. There were all kinds of people. When he went up the mountain, Xiaofan met Yanji and the others, who were looking around eagerly. Yanji and the others, who had participated in this kind of ceremony for the first time, were quite reserved, but they couldn't hide the excitement on their faces. So awesome! They hadn't awakened, so naturally they didn't have their own sacrificial animal clothes. What they were wearing now were just ordinary animal skins, which were given to them by the tribe to keep them warm. Xiaofan waved his bear claws to Yanji and the others, and greeted them. The bear claws on the bear paw gloves were too big and troublesome. However, the tribe was looking at these troublesome things today, so Xiaofan couldn't take them off. Yanji and the others looked at Xiaofan's clothes with envy. So nice. Are you talking about Xian? You haven't seen the thorn black wind leather clothes he used to wear. I still think that one looks more awesome. A passerby joked. The giant bear was not worse than the thorn-black wind, but the thorns on the thorn-black wind's body were indeed more ferocious than the bear skin. Don't envy others. When you awaken, you can go hunting with the hunting team, and then you can have your own sacrificial animal clothes. The man said. Can we also hunt something like Xian's clothes in the future? Jiao Wu clenched his fist. It depends on your strength. After all, there are few people like Xian. No matter what, you have to awaken first. Yes. They were going to awaken and become real totem warriors. This year, they were wearing clothes prepared for them by others, so they couldn't compare with others. But next year, the year after that, and every year after that, they would wear the best trophies they had hunted to participate in the ceremony of the tribe. Xiao Xian first went to the shaman, and together with the others who were going to perform the sacrificial dance, they painted lines on their faces, and then went to the fire pit. There are many people who are going to awaken this year. Xiao Xian said. Yes, last year 7 people failed to awaken. This year, including Yan Ji and the others, there are more than 100. Tua put on the animal bone mask and said. Just now, he had taken off the mask to paint lines on his face, and now he put it on. The animal bone mask was made by cutting off the head of a ferocious beast, boiling it, and removing the skin and flesh, leaving only the bones and the teeth in the mouth. Those sharp teeth were also the most important part. It was recognized in the tribe that the best animal bone mask could not have broken teeth, not to mention that the sacrificial dancers had higher requirements. Xiao Xian could only see Tuo's face through the mouth of sharp teeth. The night gradually fell. The whole mountain and all the people of the tribe had gathered at the top of the mountain. After the chief finished speaking, the shaman walked to the fire pit. The shaman chanted the incantation. In the fire pit, the fire seed that was originally like a small flame suddenly rolled up and filled the entire fire pit with a boom. This situation was much more intense than before. Not to mention the other people around, even the shaman was stunned and stopped for a moment. The music sounded, and the sacrificial dancers started to work. Xiao Xian, who was wearing a thick bearskin, jumped up and danced with the well-dressed people around him, baring their teeth and brandishing their claws. While dancing, Xiao Xian once again entered the mysterious state that seemed to be separated from reality. He seemed to see the barbaric and exaggerated people around the fire pit, waving their hands and feet, dancing around the fire pit. Around them, further away, there were tall stone houses. The flame in the fire pit doubled again, and the two-horned totem in the flame seemed to rush out. The whole mountain top was covered with a layer of fiery light. The flames that flew out of the fire pit were denser than any other time before. At the same time, in another place far away from the Yanjiao tribe, in the old land of the Yanjiao tribe, where the fire pit used to be, the fire vein appeared again. First, there was a shining light spot in the center, and then, from this light spot, there were 6 fiery veins, extending in 6 directions. The birds nesting in the surrounding trees, who had just fallen asleep, were awakened. Flocks of birds flew out of their nests, screaming cha-cha, and flew away in the direction away from the fire pit. A nocturnal ferocious beast, who had just stepped into this area, growled and turned around to leave quickly. On the ground, where the fire vein spread, the bloodthirsty vines that had captured countless creatures struggled weakly and quickly withered. Following the departure of the flying birds and insects, this place was completely silent. There was no music, no dancers, and no one. Under the dark night sky, only the fire veins on the ground lit up the ruins. Chapter 225. In the Wuxia tribe. In the witch's house. The door where the skull of a beast was hanging was pulled open. The witch, with colorful totem patterns on his face, walked out, sweating. He hurried to the chief's house. The chief of the Wuxia tribe was enjoying being served by the female captives he caught last year. He was unhappy to be disturbed by the witch. What's the matter? The witch rushed in, panting, and said, "There's a change in the fearsome beast forest." The Wuxia chief suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes became as sharp as a poisoned knife. "Are you sure?" What happened in the fearsome beast forest last year made the Wuxia chief feel like he had been slapped in the face. It was always their tribe that slaughtered, invaded, bullied, and robbed others. Before that, he had never felt so frustrated. Every time he thought of that, he felt like someone was waiting to slap him in the face. He also strictly forbade anyone from talking about it. It would damage the reputation of the Wuxia tribe. No one was allowed to mention it. Anyone who mentioned it would be killed. So far, he had killed more than 10 people who talked too much. That incident was a thorn in the Wuxia chief's throat that he could not pull out. But because of the previous casualties, he did not send anyone to the fearsome beast forest. "I'm sure." Just now, that ominous feeling was very strong. "I felt." The Wuxia shaman's tone was unsteady. He could hear his heart beating faster than usual. "What did you feel?" "I felt." Looking into the chief's bloody eyes, the Wuxia shaman lowered his head and said nothing. "Speak." The Wuxia shaman took a deep breath and said in a low voice, "Suppression of the fire seed." The air in the house suddenly froze. The few women who had been serving their leader with a smile just now were now trembling like a sieve, but they didn't make a single sound, for fear that they would be noticed because of the sound they made. They had been serving their leader for some time now and were familiar with her temper. At this moment, the leader was extremely angry. They didn't know that the Wuxia chief was not only angry, but also scared. These two emotions mixed together and made him lose focus for a moment. But then he came back to his senses and smashed the wooden table beside him into pieces. The violent totem power made the evil spirit around him stronger and stronger. His red eyes looked at the women who were huddled around him. The people patrolling near the leader's house suddenly heard screams and screams coming from the leader's house. Soon, the screams stopped abruptly. Bang! The wooden door was kicked open from the inside out and shattered into pieces. A man covered in blood walked out of the house in large strides. Every step he took was like a hammer pounding on the hearts of the patrolling guards, causing them to breathe carefully. They were worried that their leader would take his anger out on them. Fortunately, the chief of the Wuxia tribe didn't pay attention to them. He strode away, heading for the fire pit. After the Wuxia chief, the Wuxia shaman also came out. His face was expressionless. When he passed by the guards, he paused and said to them, "Clean up the house." "Yes." The patrolman replied. They knew what the shaman meant by things in the house. After the chief and the shaman left, the patrolman walked into the house and cleaned up the bloodstains and mutilated corpses. It was not the first time that they had dealt with such things. They didn't care about the blood in the house at all. While cleaning up, they whispered to each other about why the chief was so angry. When the Wuxia chief came to the fire pit, he was terrified when he saw the fire that was smaller than usual. Although the shaman told him about it, he couldn't control his emotions when he saw it with his own eyes. The Wuxia shaman stood 10 steps away from the chief. Based on his understanding of the chief, he would be in trouble if he stood too close to him. "Gather the people. I want to go to the ferocious beast's mountain forest in person." With these words, the pebbles at the Wuxia chief's feet were all broken into pieces. For the people of the Wuxia tribe, it was not a peaceful night. The chief was angry, and everyone was trembling with fear. They heard that they would go to the ferocious beast's mountain forest tomorrow, which made them even more worried. They wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. On the other side, the Yanjiao tribe was immersed in the joy of the sacrifice. They didn't know what kind of people would come to their old haunt. They were absorbing the energy of the fire crystals. The 3 flames of the fire pit had been completed. Looking at the 3rd flame, the shaman said it was good luck. In the past, after the 3 flames of the fire pit were completed, the sacrifice would come to an end. After the chief and the shaman announced something, they would disperse and go home. But today, after the 3rd flame, the fire in the fire pit was taken back. The shaman took out the fire crystals that everyone had been waiting for. After waiting for a whole winter, the time finally came. Every totem warrior was absorbing the energy released from the fire pit and integrating it into their bodies. This situation didn't happen every year. Except for those who hadn't awakened their totem power, Xiaofan was the most relaxed one. The energy of the fire crystals didn't have a direct effect on his improvement. However, in order not to stand out too much, he still stayed with the others. Unlike the others, he didn't absorb the energy. Instead, he was thinking about the mysterious state when he performed the sacrificial dance. What he saw at that time should be the prosperity of the Yanjiao tribe, not the current scene. That scene was similar to what he saw in the old haunt. The old haunt, when the tribe went back with the fire seed, there should be more changes there. When the fire crystals in the fire pit were used up, it was almost dawn. Everyone absorbed different amounts of fire crystal energy. Some absorbed more, some absorbed less. Some absorbed faster, some slower. The faster ones didn't leave after absorbing all the fire crystal energy. Instead, they urged the totem power in their bodies to digest the absorbed energy and fuse it with the fire crystal energy. Some people who were close to the breakthrough point were promoted to a new level on the spot. The young warriors couldn't restrain the joy on their faces when they saw the totem tattoos extending over their elbows. But because the sacrifice was not over, they didn't dare to make a sound. They could only try to hold back their laughter, clenching their teeth and fists. Their faces were distorted. The shaman glanced at them and smiled. After announcing the end of the sacrifice, everyone left one after another. Those who had a good relationship with each other would talk more tonight and celebrate together. After a few days, when they are stable, summarize the situation and report it to me. The chief said to the people next to him. Yes. The 100 totem warriors who were going to awaken their totem power tonight, including Yan Ji and the others, all succeeded in awakening their totem power and becoming totem warriors. Jiao Wu almost couldn't hold back his laughter and began to cry. Yan Ji, Yan Shua, and the others also had tears in their eyes. The children next to them didn't understand why these people, who were older than them, were crying. Although it was very proud to awaken their totem power and become totem warriors, they didn't need to be so excited. The shaman didn't say anything and asked people to take these new warriors to the side. Tonight, he had to teach these new warriors a lesson. Let's go, Xian. Old Ku sat on the wolf's back and shouted at the edge of the top of the mountain. Coming. Xiaofan looked away from the fire pit and towards Old Ku and Caesar. Have you been promoted? Old Ku patted his wrist. He was asking Xiaofan if he could be promoted from an intermediate totem warrior to a senior totem warrior. The totem tattoos on the arms of senior totem warriors could go over their wrists. Because Xiaofan was wearing a sacrificial animal costume, Old Ku couldn't see the totem tattoos on his arms, so he asked. Xiaofan shook his head. Old Ku's expectant eyes dimmed, but then he smiled and said, "It's okay, take your time." Old Ku just saw that many people had been promoted by one level tonight. In his opinion, Xiaofan was a very excellent and talented warrior, so he should be promoted by a lot. But when he saw Xiaofan shake his head, he was worried that Xiaofan would think too much and be too depressed, so he put aside his disappointment and comforted Xiaofan. Xiaofan smiled and didn't say anything. When they went down the mountain, Xiaofan was stopped by Lang Jie and the others. Many people in the hunting group had been promoted by a lot, and Mai had directly become a senior totem warrior. Everyone was happy. As the leader of the hunting group, Mai waved his hand and called all the warriors in the hunting group together to celebrate. And Xiao Xian, who was the biggest contributor, naturally couldn't be left out. You go. Old Ku smiled and his eyes narrowed. He patted Xiao Xian's shoulder, and then patted Caesar's head. Let's go back first. After a winter's rest and recuperation, plus the fire seed energy and fire crystal energy he absorbed during the ritual ceremony, old Ku now felt that he had returned to the time when he was young. He was full of strength, and the improvement of his body was very obvious. Although he had lost a leg, he could walk down the mountain easily with a crutch. However, old Ku didn't walk. He rode on a wolf, and under the disdainful eyes of Gu and other old acquaintances, he slowly went down the mountain while humming the hunting song. Before the first hunting this year, the shaman and the chief got the statistics, and the result made them very happy. Originally, there were only more than 10 senior totem warriors, and 2 of them were old warriors. Compared with the young and middle-aged warriors, their fighting strength was naturally inferior. But this time, there were 20 more young and middle-aged senior totem warriors. According to the report, although many people didn't succeed in the breakthrough, they were close to the turning point. It was believed that they were not far away from the breakthrough. Good. Very good. In order to go back to the old land, the shaman and the chief naturally hoped that there would be more powerful warriors in the tribe. After all, when they went there, they would have to face more challenges, from people and ferocious beasts. Only with more powerful strength could they go back and stand firm. How's the ship building? The chief asked the warrior next to him. Still trying. The warrior reported the progress of the ship building to the chief and the shaman. It's too slow. Ao said. Because they were looking forward to going back to the old land, naturally they were not satisfied with the current progress. It's not urgent. The shaman said. However, even though he said that, his next sentence was to discuss with the leader whether or not they should dig a large pool near the training ground, the kind that didn't have wood-eating insects. It would be good for the shipbuilders to test the ships that they built. After all, it was related to the fate of the entire tribe. Digging a big pool was not a small project. Choosing a place, digging a hole, drawing water, and other processes were not easy. However, Ao agreed without hesitation. Chapter 226. The chief and the shaman said that they were going to dig a big pool. Everyone worked hard to dig. When the hunting warriors went out, some people stayed in the tribe to dig. Some people who had trouble walking also went to help. Many women in the tribe who had not awakened their totem power also went to help. After the first hunt, Xiao Xian returned to the tribe. They had already dug a big pit of more than 400 square meters, and they were still digging. At the foot of the mountain, some children from the cave were helping to boil the gelatin. A 20-meter-long wooden boat was placed there. Yan Ji and the others were busy filling the seams. This was only the first boat they tested. There were 2 bigger boats next to it, but they were not finished yet. Xiao Xian picked up the tools and went to help. How is it going? Xiao Xian asked. Before the rainy season, these 3 boats will be finished. At that time, we will try these 3 boats. If they were successful, they would try to build bigger boats. As the shaman said, the boats they built were important to the people of the tribe. The quality of the boats had to be good. Otherwise, they would be hit by fish in the river and leak. How was the hunting? Jiao Wu couldn't help but ask. Not bad. Xiao Xian followed the advance group to the green land. This time, they found a kind of curly-tailed herb and hunted a lot of prey on the way. They were satisfied with the harvest. We are going to go hunting too. Jiao Wu said. Yes, but not until next time. Xiao Xian said. Yan Ji and the others were the same as most of the new warriors. They would not follow the first 2 hunts, and would go out with the advance group on the 3rd hunt. However, because of their special status, they would definitely send someone to protect them. When we leave, you will take care of this place. Yan Ji said to Xiao Xian. Don't worry. Yan Ji and the others and Xiao Xian would not go hunting at the same time. In this way, they could ensure that there would be someone watching over the boat every time. The Yanjiao tribe dug a hole and directly dug a lake. Even the longboat tribe's fleet would have a large space inside. The warriors who dug the lake didn't think it was big enough. If it weren't for the fact that they were surrounded by mountains, which made it difficult to dig, they would have dug even more. During the rainy season, water would be stored here. When the rainy season was over and there were no wood-eating insects in the river, the water would be brought here. From the lake to the river, a waterway nearly 10 meters wide was dug. This made it easier for the boats in the lake to travel directly to the river. Under Xiao Xian's suggestion and guidance, a sluice gate was built near the mouth of the river. The sluice gate would be closed except for the period after the end of the rainy season. The lake and waterway have been dug. We're just waiting for the rainy season to come. During the rainy season, the lake would be filled with water from the river. Unfortunately, we can't go back this year. Lang Jie looked at the dug lake and waterway and said, if it weren't for the insects in the river, we wouldn't have to spend so much effort to dig the lake. We could just put the boat in the river and try it. There's no other way. Let's wait until next year. It should be possible next year. While the people of the Yanjiao tribe were busy, on the other side of the river, in the old place of the Yanjiao tribe, in the ferocious beasts mountain forest, the chief of the Wuxia tribe led a large number of people there. This time, he brought nearly 1/3 of all the warriors of the tribe. Because of various ferocious beasts and dangerous plants in the mountain forest, many of them died. But in the end, they found the old place of the Yanjiao tribe. Scraping the moss and vines on the stone with a knife, the chief of the Wuxia tribe, Bian, with blood stains on his body, looked at the words carved on the stone and read softly, Yanjiao? Then he snorted and said disdainfully to the shaman who came over, is this your concern? This tribe that has long been extinct? The Wuxia shaman didn't speak. Bian's smiling face became ferocious. He punched the big stone with the words carved on it. Bang! A fist-sized hole appeared on the hard stone. The stone, which had been firmly standing on the ground, was knocked down by this force and rolled away. He didn't look at the stone that had rolled away and continued to lead the group forward. Not long after, they arrived at the ruins. From a long time ago, the Wuxia tribe knew that there used to be a tribe here. But that tribe disappeared, leaving only ruins. Later, the chiefs who took over didn't care about the ruins in the mountain forest anymore. Because the mountain forest was expanding day by day, the ruins became more and more dangerous, so they rarely went inside. The ruins recorded the historical events of the great changes in the world. The tribe that used to live here was no longer as glorious as before. No one stayed, and they were regarded as extinct by everyone. Although it was already the season of lush vegetation and the surrounding forest was full of vitality, everyone who stood in front of the ruins could feel a sense of desolation. It was as if an old man had lifted up his cover and revealed his body that was riddled with scars. Glory and shame were things that happened thousands of years ago. Except for the people of the Yanjiao tribe, others didn't have such deep feelings. Just like the people of the Wuxia tribe standing here. Except for a little inexplicable emotion when they saw the ruins for the first time, they only thought about whether there were any precious things left here. Bian, the chief of the Wuxia tribe, looked at the obvious 6 marks on the ground and narrowed his eyes dangerously. Are these the marks of sacrifice? Bian pointed at the 6 lines that seemed to have been burned and asked the shaman. Although he didn't know much about this kind of sacrifice, he could see that these were the marks of another tribe's sacrifice ceremony. Every tribe had its own style of sacrifice. It should be, said the shaman. It should be? The shaman paused and said, I don't feel the existence of the fire seed here. Of course there is no fire seed here. This tribe died out long ago. Bien shouted. But if there was no fire seed, why would there be a suppression of the fire seed? If there was a suppression of the fire seed, it meant that another tribe was stronger than them. If it wasn't the big tribe that had died out, could it be a conspiracy of other tribes in the central region? The Wuxia tribe had made trouble for the Lu tribe many times and had been warned by several big tribes in the central region. So they deliberately held a sacrificial ceremony here to frighten the Wuxia tribe? Maybe the previous incident was also caused by those guys in the central region. Bien thought to himself. After all, except for them, no one was against him and it was impossible for them to create a suppression of the fire seed. The more he thought about it, the more he felt it was possible. Bien ignored the shaman, who wanted to say something but stopped, and called someone. Destroy everything in the surroundings. Completely and utterly destroyed. Especially here. Bien pointed to the center of the 6 marks, dig these out. Don't let me see these again. Although he thought it was the work of those old guys in the central region, he didn't have a good feeling about this place, especially the tall pillar, which seemed to be mocking the Wuxia tribe. Although the Wuxia tribe was one of the strongest in the central region, it was still weaker than the other big tribes because of the suppression of the fire seed. Destroy this too. He couldn't do anything to those old guys in the central region, but couldn't he do anything to these stone ruins? Anyway, it was useless to keep these things. If the tribe was gone, what was the point of these stones? They were an eyesore. In the mountain forest, with a bang, the tall pillar where Xiaofan once stood fell down. Not only that, but Feng Wu was still not satisfied with the fallen stone pillar. He ordered his men to break the stone pillar into pieces and chisel many holes into the broken pillar. The paintings carved on the stone pillar were also destroyed until they were even more blurred. Not a single complete pattern could be seen. The surrounding ruins were even more ruined. Some half-collapsed stone houses all fell down. Large stone slabs were knocked into small pieces and the small pieces were thrown away in all directions. The better stones were dug out and taken away. The place where the fire pit used to be had been dug into pits of various sizes. It was completely different from what Xiaofan saw when he first came here. The trees were cut down and the grass was dug up. The whole place was almost peeled off and changed. Looking at the final result, Bien was very satisfied. Then he laughed and set a fire in the forest. Burn those eyesores. Perhaps, if they were burned, no one would come here to make trouble again. It would be better to burn the forest here, but it was impossible. There were many pools nearby and ferocious beasts. Some ferocious beasts also knew how to put out fire. It was a pity. However, it was better not to burn them all. Otherwise, all the ferocious beasts here would be forced out, and the Wuxia tribe would be the first to suffer. Even if they couldn't burn them all, it would make Bien feel better. He liked to destroy. The feeling of destroying with his own hands was very pleasant. Let's go. Looking at the burning fire and smoke, Bien turned his head and shouted. In this season, in this place, the fire didn't spread fast. Many trees around were not easy to burn. There was no wind today, which gave them enough time to leave. Although many people were killed in the forest this time, Bien felt that it was worthwhile to come here. He got rid of one of his worries. Let's see what those old guys will do, Bien said. Although he admitted that those old strongmen were stronger than the Wuxia tribe, he wasn't afraid. They couldn't be much stronger, right? Those people of those tribes couldn't come here to fight with the Wuxia tribe, right? Bien left with his people. But before they went far, drops of rain began to fall from the sky. The rain was getting heavier and heavier. The fire, which was set well and not easy to burn before, was gradually extinguished. The rising smoke was also extinguished. Bah, it's raining, Bien said discontentedly. Today's weather was really gloomy. He knew there would be rain, but he didn't expect it to rain as soon as he set the fire. However, Bien didn't intend to go back. Let it be. Anyway, he had done what he should do. Different from Bien's good mood, the shaman's mood was more complicated. Because the uneasiness in his heart rose again, and it was stronger than before. He hoped that he was oversensitive. Chapter 227. After the people of the Wuxia tribe went to the old land of the Yanjiao tribe, many of them still felt a little anxious, especially the Wuxia shaman. He always felt that there was a big stone pressing on his heart, making it difficult for him to breathe. However, since then, the chief of the Wuxia tribe, Fuji, sent people into the forest again. Except for the wild beasts, ferocious beasts and some dangerous plants, there was no other abnormality. As a result, the people of the Wuxia tribe, who had been frightened by the annihilation of the Yanjiao tribe, had almost dissipated. Now the people of the Wuxia tribe felt that he had stabbed someone he didn't like. They had been worried about the other party's resistance and revenge, but they found that he was fine. Then they would stab him again. Oh, he was fine. So they started to tremble. They became bolder and became more and more fearless. Fuji finally spat out the thorn in his heart. At this time, he was more sure that the annihilation of the Yanjiao tribe and the suppression of the fire seed were all tricks played by the old guys of those tribes. But that was all. Yulan revealed a smug smile. Anyway, those people couldn't do anything to him. One of the ancestors of the Wuxia tribe once said that the central tribes would not easily start a war with the larger tribes. And this was also the reason why the successive chiefs of the Wuxia tribe didn't hide their ambitions and wantonly waved their claws. Fuji was the same. However, the Wuxia shaman was still worried. As the days went by, the big stone in his heart didn't disappear, but became heavier and heavier. Fuji didn't hide his claws, but the Wuxia shaman was afraid that one day, when the Wuxia tribe unscrupulously stretched out his claws, his arms and legs would be chopped off. No matter what the people of the Wuxia tribe were doing, on the other side of the river, the Yanjiao tribe was busy with shipbuilding and training. Since the artificial lake was filled with river water in the rainy season, shipbuilding and training had been accelerated. Except for Xiaofan and Yanji, no one in the Yanjiao tribe had ever ridden a boat since they were born. They needed corresponding training. When the sails didn't work, they needed manpower to paddle and command. They also needed to adapt to the life on the boat. The hunting warriors' time outside had been reduced by half, and the number of hunting routes had also been reduced. Now, for the Yanjiao tribe, they only needed to ensure the basic amount of food. They didn't care too much about quality. Some wild beasts and ferocious beasts that they didn't care about before were now included in the hunting range. They weren't the only ones in the tribe who needed food. The shaman said that now the Yanjiao tribe was a whole, and no one could give up. A year passed. In the artificial lake of the Yanjiao tribe, there were already more than 20 boats. Each boat was more than 30 meters long. Except for the first 3 boats, which had only one deck, the others had 2 to 3 decks. After more than a year of continuous trial and error, the boats now were much better than before. Now, Yanji and the others were building a big boat, which was bigger than the other 20 boats. There were 3 big boats in total, and the wood used was excellent. The hunting teams had carefully selected the wood from various hunting grounds. Because in these 3 big boats, there would be the chief and the shaman, as well as the top people in the tribe. Can we set off this year? Lang Jie, who had just finished his training on the boat, came over and asked Xiaofan. It depends on the progress of shipbuilding and the speed of adaptation. Xiaofan said. During this year, almost every day, everyone was preparing for the departure. Xiaofan was called to the top of the mountain to discuss matters. When he was free, Xiaofan also used his free time to draw a wu roll for the shaman. He drew the key points of what he had seen and heard on the other side of the river on the wu roll, so that the shaman could have a clearer understanding. Orders were passed down from the top of the mountain, and the tribe was changing rapidly. From the time Xiaofan decided to leave the tribe until now, only 3 years had passed, but the information that everyone had access to was more than the sum of all the information they had received before. Some people were at a loss and were not so enthusiastic about the change, but more people were full of expectations. They wanted to know more new things and meet more people. This boat will probably be finished in 10 days, right? Xiaofan looked up at the big boat in front of him and said. 10 days, there are about 20 or 30 days left in the rainy season. It's not too late. Several people next to him rubbed their hands. If the boat was finished before the rainy season, they would have a rainy season to prepare. Then when the rainy season was over, the tribe would set off. Let's see how the boat is built. If it's okay. Xiaofan did not finish his words, but everyone knew what he meant. If the big boat was built, they could set off. On the top of the mountain, in one of the rooms of the shaman's stone house. Big boxes and boxes were tidied up and placed there. In addition to the special stone materials, some of the stone boxes and boxes were replaced with wooden ones to reduce the weight. Although the shaman looked quite calm outside, in fact, he had already started to pack things up before the people in the tribe knew. He was more anxious than the others. For so many years, many shamans had failed to complete this task. But now, there was finally hope for him. Seeing Chief Ao come in, the shaman asked, "How is it?" Xian said that the boat will be finished in 10 days. Ao looked at the shaman and did not see anything from his old face. After a pause, he said, "If the boat is finished, we can leave this year." "Yes, we can leave this year." The shaman sighed. If they couldn't leave this year, they would have to wait for another year. The rainy season started early this year, but it may last a little longer. This is a rare opportunity. The shaman said. He could not accurately predict the future weather like Yang Sui of the Rain tribe, but he could give a general range. The rainy season started early and ended early. That was to say, from the end of the rainy season to the coincidence of the 2 moons, it would take a long time. It was indeed a good opportunity. If they couldn't seize it, they didn't know what would happen next year or the year after. Step up the training and restrain everyone. If anyone makes trouble. The shaman's calm face became serious. Ao nodded, "I have already told Ta and Gigu. Even if the ferocious beasts are successfully engraved, if they can't control them well, don't blame me for being ruthless. Nothing could be compared with the tribe, even if the ferocious beasts were successfully tamed and engraved." 10 days later, the 3 big boats were on the artificial lake for trial. "How is it?" Aoedi had already come over. Staring at the 3 boats on the lake, he asked Xiaofan and Yan Ji on the boat. "There is no problem for the time being. Let's try for a while," Yan Ji said. Ao still looked serious and looked at Xiaofan. Seeing Xiaofan nod slightly, Ao clenched his fists and strode away. The more he walked, the faster he walked. When he went up the mountain, he could only see a shadow. Now that everything was ready, he needed to discuss with the shaman about the departure of the tribe after the rainy season this year. "The old place, I really want to see what it looks like," Ao thought. Chapter 228. The rain washed over the earth. With the arrival of the rainy season, the giant river overlords were migrating once a year. In the river, in places that couldn't be seen, there were many aquatic creatures that were doing the same thing as the overlords of the river. Compared to the bustling river, the Yanjiao tribe was much quieter. Except for some guards who were assigned to different places, most people stayed at home. A worm came out of nowhere, moving its countless claws, and quickly crawled into the house. "Pa!" A wolf's claw slammed down on it, flattening the insect that was about to enter the house. Caesar was lying in the house, almost filling up the hall. Its head was at the door, like a door god, slapping anything that tried to crawl into the house. Old Ku stood in the stone crafting room, looking at the heavy rain outside the window with hope in his eyes. Behind him, there were wooden boxes that had already been packed. In the corner of the house, there were some old stone boxes of different sizes, but they couldn't be taken away. Almost there, in the tribe, there were many people like Old Ku, who had already packed their things. Because of the limited space, there was a limit to what they could bring. If they wanted to bring more, they had to report it and get permission. Otherwise, they would just throw it away. If someone really didn't want to leave their things at home, they could just stay here with those things. At the top of the mountain, Xiaofan saw the shaman standing by the fire pit, chanting something. During this period, the shaman would come here every day. The shaman said it was a ceremony, a farewell ceremony. When the rainy season ended, the tribe would leave this place where they had lived for nearly 1,000 years. Naturally, they would take the fire with them. The fire in the fire pit, whether it was raining, snowing, or windy, the fire was still the same, unaffected. After today's ceremony, the shaman turned around and left the fire pit, walking towards Xiaofan. "Xian, what do you think will happen when Yanjiao returns to the old land?" the shaman asked. Xiaofan thought for a while and said, "It won't be peaceful anymore." "Yes, it's no longer peaceful." Shaman looked at the misty river in the distance. Although his tone was emotional, the determination in his eyes never wavered. Ao didn't say anything. His face was filled with joy, and his clenched fists showed that he was still excited. He was the chief. In the future, even after he passed away, the descendants of the Yanjiao tribe would still remember him. This was an important turning point in the history of the tribe. Their names would be recorded in the animal skin rolls that would be passed down to future generations. This was a supreme honor. After standing at the top of the mountain for a while, the shaman, Xiaofan and Ao returned to the stone house. In the house, the two team leaders and several other old men had already arrived. "Alright, let's confirm our return plan again today." Ao spread out a piece of animal skin and said. Every 2 days, this group of people would gather here. If they didn't come for a discussion, they would feel uncomfortable all over. As an important member, Xiaofan was often called up. After all, he was the only one with sailing experience. When the rainy season finally ended, the people who had been silent for the entire rainy season became excited. It was time to leave. The people on the mountain carried large and small boxes down the mountain. Men and women, old and young, groups by groups, walked down the path of glory. Perhaps, this was the last time in their lives that they would walk down this road. A child held his animal skin bag and followed his parents down the mountain. Halfway down the mountain, he looked back at the direction of his house. For some reason, he burst into tears. A big rough hand put on the child's head and turned his head to the front. "Look at the road, don't look back." "Okay." At the foot of the mountain, Gu and a few others who were usually in charge of delivering food to the cave instructed the children in the cave to leave. Cha-Cha grabbed several boxes that Old Ku had tied up and flew to the boat on the other side of the artificial lake. Caesar carried Old Ku on his back and went to the other side of the lake with the others at the foot of the mountain. Who would take which boat had been arranged long ago. Moreover, everyone had adapted to the boat for a period of time, so they did not immediately feel uncomfortable after getting on the boat. Xiaofan was asked by the shaman to go up the mountain to help. The shaman had the most things. Others could reduce the boxes, but not the shaman. Even if the shaman wanted to reduce the boxes, others would not agree. Those were all left by their ancestors. The warriors who helped to move the boxes were all very careful as if they were fragile objects. Their faces were respectful and their bodies were stiff. They had to be cautious with every step they took. After moving the boxes, Xiaofan went to check on Old Ku's situation. After confirming that everything was fine, he went up the mountain. Before going up the mountain, Xiaofan went to the cave to take a look. When he woke up that year, he was in this cave. In the blink of an eye, so much time had passed. When he came to the stone room with the murals, Xiaofan looked at the painting on the wall. His eyes stopped at the end of the painting. After thinking for a while, Xiaofan used a stone knife to carve a few words in the blank space behind the painting. We went back to the old place. After writing, he carved the word Xian at the end of the sentence. Standing up, Xiaofan blocked the vent with stones and thatch, and then walked out. A gust of wind blew, carrying with it the smell of fish that had not yet dispersed. Xiaofan looked at the stone wall near the entrance of the cave. There were still words carved on it when he had not awakened his totemic power. There were also some drawings made with charred branches. In addition to Xiaofan's drawings, there were also all kinds of traces left by the children who had lived here for nearly 1,000 years. There were fish bones left after being eaten, tattered animal skins, and messy piles of thatch. Walking out of the cave, Xiaofan moved a big stone from not far away to block the entrance of the cave, and covered everything in the cave. When he went up the mountain, he had finished moving everything, and there was nothing for him to do. However, the shaman did not let him leave. Not only Xiaofan, but Chief Ao, the two team leaders, Mai and the other leaders of the hunting groups, and the old men who always participated in the meeting, also stayed. The shaman led them to the top of the mountain. When they came down, there was a small flame in the shaman's hand. It was much smaller than the one in the fire pit, and looked like a small flame on a birthday candle. The shaman held it carefully in his hand. Chief Ao walked next to the shaman. As the future successor of the shaman, Guizhe helped the shaman hold the crutch, and stood slightly behind Ao on the other side. The others stood around to protect the shaman. Walking down the path of glory, there were 2 rows of warriors standing on both sides of the road. Among these people, no one was lower than an intermediate totem warrior. When the shaman passed by, the warriors standing there would kneel down and perform the highest salute of the tribe. After the shaman left, they would stand up and follow him, all with red eyes. Walking down the path of glory to the artificial lake where 23 boats were parked, the shaman walked slowly, but no one complained. Those who had already boarded the boats were not impatient at all. The biggest boat had already docked, and a wooden ladder was lowered from above. On the boat, there was a small fire pit, which was only the size of a basin. After the shaman brought the flame up, he put it in there. When the shaman was ready, Ao announced the departure. Woo! The bone horn sounded, and the people in charge of the boats immediately ordered the people to set sail. They had received training. Although they were not as skilled as Xiaofan in controlling the boat, they could do it. The boats left the artificial lake one after another. The waterway gate between the lake and the river had been opened, and the boats sailed out of the waterway and came to the river. Above. Well, now everyone should be careful. Be careful not to fall behind. Ao roared. The fleet went farther and farther, and the mountain where the tribe was located gradually became smaller in their vision. Everything that Xiaofan had experienced before, this time everyone would experience it again. Under the water, large and small piranhas were active. If one stood on the side of the boat and looked down, he could see many big fish that were longer than a person swimming by. Sometimes they would bump into the boat and make the boat shake. As they sailed, Xiaofan, who had been checking the situation on the boats, found that the farther the boats were from the central boat, the more likely they were to be disturbed by the fish. At first, Xiaofan did not understand and had various guesses. But when Xiaofan suddenly had an idea and looked with his special vision, he found that the light emitted from the central boat touched the boats closest to it, and those boats were rarely hit by the fish. Fire seed? Grabbing Cha-Cha's eagle foot, Xiaofan went from the boats in the outer circle to the central boat. He told the shaman and the chief about his discovery, but he did not mention his special ability. Because of the fire seed? The shaman thought for a while and his eyes lit up. Yes, the fire seed can protect the tribe from other beasts and ferocious beasts. The same goes for the fish in the river. As he spoke, the shaman chanted a spell. Just like during the ceremony, the fire seed expanded from a small flame to the whole fire pit. However, the temporary fire pit on the boat was much smaller. Let everyone come closer, the shaman said to Ao. Ao went out and told everyone what the shaman said. The other boats moved closer, but they could not get too close. If they were too close, it would be easy to get into trouble. Walking out of the cabin, Xiaofan looked again. The light emitted from the central boat was much brighter and expanded outwards, just enough to cover the approaching boats. Although the boats later were occasionally grazed by some overly curious big fish, the frequency was much less. It was much better than when Xiaofan sailed alone. Day by day, the fleet sailed smoothly. In order to make the best use of time, in addition to the sails, there were people on each boat who took turns to paddle. Although there was no cha-cha pulling the boats this time, the speed of the boats was good. After determining the direction, they went straight in that direction. They tried to sail in a straight line, unless they encountered some floating dead fish or some dangerous factors. After all, if they could not reach the other side of the river before the water level dropped, all their previous efforts would be in vain. In that case, the Yanjiao tribe would really disappear from the stage of history. At the same time, Xiaofan had a strange feeling in his heart again. This time, with the fire seed, protection, and more manpower, Xiaofan had more free time. He used this free time to carefully observe the surrounding river, even the clouds in the sky, the moon, and the stars in the sky. Xiaofan suddenly had a guess in his heart. Maybe, this river was not as big as he thought. Chapter 229. The boat seemed to be moving very fast, braving the wind and waves, but it was very likely that it was only moving a little bit. The direction of the wind on the river often changed, and the direction of the water in the river was very likely to change as well. Xiaofan had not noticed this before. When he was in the tribe, he could only see the shallow water near the shore, where it was not obvious. He could only see the horizontal changes of the river. After setting out, he focused on controlling the boat and identifying the direction, so he did not pay attention to the changes of the river's direction. Now that he observed carefully, he found that the vertical direction of the river also changed. So sometimes, the boat seemed to be moving, but in fact, it was just maintaining its position. This was only Xiaofan's guess, and he could not confirm it now. However, Xiaofan wondered if there was another relatively stable passage in other parts of the river. Where did the giant mountain eagles that went to the Eagle Mountain pass through? In order to avoid forgetting, Xiaofan wrote down this question in his animal skin roll. Maybe he would encounter it in the future. Especially the Hui tribe. The tribe's boat had been moving in the direction Xiaofan pointed out. At first, some people were not used to it, and even became seasick. Xiaofan had already prepared for this. He and the shaman had researched medicine for seasickness. It worked, but it was limited. Many people were holed up in the cabin, and the energetic people were also restricted from moving. At most, they could only come out to look at the scenery outside, and watch the big fish with stripes and thorny dorsal fins downstream. Life on the river was very boring and stressful. No one could sleep well. Sometimes, as soon as they closed their eyes, the boat would shake a few times, and the sleepiness would be scared away. The fear brought by the river to the Yanjiao tribesmen was still there. In order to make sure that they reached the destination before the river level dropped, they traveled day and night, and the warriors took turns to go to the river. As the days passed, the energetic people became as listless as the seasick people. Many people were obviously thinner. The amount of water and food on the ship was also decreasing. Those who didn't work could only get a small amount of food to meet their minimum needs. The rest of the food was given to the soldiers who worked. No one had any complaints about this. The few ferocious beasts that had been successfully engraved on the ship didn't dare to wander around at all. They would be thrown into the river to feed the fishes. Every day, they could only look enviously at the Cha-Cha that could fly around in the sky and catch fish. When Cha-Cha flew down from the sky and looked at the sky with fear, Xiaofan informed them in advance that there was no wind around them, so Ao asked everyone to paddle with all their might. When they finally got out of the dangerous area, they looked back and found that the wooden planks thrown behind them were instantly smashed into pieces. The river water seemed to have evaporated and turned into a mist. Ao and the others had the same feeling as Xiaofan. They gasped and couldn't calm down for a long time. "This river is indeed dangerous," Ao said. Ta and Gigu looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. They nodded and agreed with Ao's words. At first, they only knew that Xiaofan had a hard time crossing the river. There were many difficulties, but they didn't have any idea. But when they experienced it themselves, they knew how dangerous it was. If they were careless, they would be buried at the bottom of the river. After experiencing it themselves, Xiaofan became more and more important in the hearts of the people in the tribe. It could be said that without Xiaofan, even if the tribe built a big ship, it would be impossible to cross the river safely. "Are we almost there?" Ta looked ahead. It was still a boundless river. "It's still far away, but I think we can make it," Xiaofan said. This year, the rainy season came early and ended early, leaving more time for the tribe. Even if the tribe's ships couldn't match the speed of Xiaofan's last time, they could still make it. Life on the river continued. In the fleet, everyone's excitement at the beginning had already calmed down. The children on the ship either ate or slept. When they woke up, they gathered together to chat because they couldn't move freely. A long eagle cry came from the sky. The ears of the several ferocious beasts on the ship stood up and their eyes lit up. Ao and the others didn't quite understand what Cha-Cha meant. They all looked at Xiaofan. Xiaofan grabbed the eagle's claw and flew to the sky. When he came down, he said to the others, "We're here. We can see the river bank." Ao was overjoyed. The two team leaders also shouted excitedly. After shouting, they immediately turned back to the cabin. "Team leaders, what are they doing?" Xiaofan was confused. Not only the two team leaders, but also Kiki and the others ran into the cabin. "Didn't we say that the drumming tribe is over there?" "Ta and the others are dressing up," Ao said, and also went into the cabin. Xiaofan was speechless. The so-called dressing up, it couldn't be what he thought it was, right? The ships were also communicating with each other. Almost every ship was experiencing the same thing. The silent cabins were bustling with noise and excitement. When Xiaofan saw the shaman coming out of the cabin, the corners of his eyes twitched. When did the old man wear those bone ornaments on his head? He also wore a necklace made of animal teeth on his neck. The cloak was not the one he wore when he first came on the ship. At first glance, he knew it was a new leather cloak that had been carefully taken care of. Looking at the leaders, team leaders, and other totem warriors, Xiaofan felt like a group of forest raccos were running towards them with their big feet. Bang 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 bang, they smacked their lips and ran towards them with smoke and dust. Maybe the people of the Yanjiao tribe thought that this day was a very important day. Moreover, didn't the shaman and the chief say that they had to leave a good impression on the first tribe they saw and the first partner they cooperated with? Therefore, Xiaofan saw that everyone was dressed up like they were on the day of the ceremony. They were wearing animal skins, horns, bone ornaments, and masks. Looking around, they were all like this on every ship. Except for looking a little thinner than usual, they were all full of energy. They had gotten rid of the fatigue from the previous voyage. Xiaofan covered his face with his hands and shook his head with a smile. He didn't know what the people of the drumming tribe's first impression of the Yanjiao tribe would be. In the drumming tribe. The people of the drumming tribe, who had no idea about the arrival of the Yanjiao tribe, were not in a good mood. Since they got the news, everyone was in a bad mood and prepared for war earlier than usual. The crocodiles had already left during the rainy season. Only the baby crocodiles that were born not long ago stayed in the tribe. Fu Shi returned home like a wild beast, his face full of fatigue. The family ate in silence. After eating, Fu Shi and his wife continued to carry out their tasks, patrolling and defending. The usually rebellious Chen Jia was rarely obedient. He knew that the atmosphere in the tribe was not good recently. Everyone was worried. Are they really coming? Chen Jia asked. Fu Shi raised his head and looked at Chen Jia. He sighed and nodded. At the end of the rainy season, they went to the Pu tribe to trade. They exchanged for more tools and better stones in preparation for the Water Moon Festival. It was at that time that the Pu tribe brought them a piece of news. Last year, a tribe in the central region discovered an important medicinal effect of the Water Moon Stone. Therefore, the Water Moon Stone became very popular in the central region. A piece of the same size Water Moon Stone could be exchanged for 2 to 3 times more things than before. The big tribes in the central region would not blatantly come to find trouble with the remote tribes. However, other tribes were not so sure. For example, 2 years ago, the drumming tribe came to probe. It was said that because the drumming tribe failed that time, this time, they were likely to join forces with other tribes to snatch the Water Moon Stone. The drumming tribe alone was enough for the drumming tribe. If there were other tribes, it would be even more difficult. Moreover, since they heard that the drumming tribe would be found trouble, the Luo tribe and other tribes that were relatively close began to avoid the drumming tribe. If the drumming tribe wanted to ask them for help, it would be impossible. Everyone avoided them, for fear of getting into trouble. As for the Pu tribe, they only provided some information and clues. It was impossible for them to get involved in such trouble. Therefore, the chief of the drumming tribe, Fan Mu, was very worried. Since the day he received the news, he could not sleep well. He could only ask the people in the tribe to prepare as many tools and weapons as possible. This year may be the most difficult year for the drumming tribe. Fan Mu said. The shaman of the drumming tribe sat next to him. He looked worried, as did the others around him. The Water Moon Stone became more precious. This was a good thing, but also a bad thing. The good thing was that the drumming tribe could use the Water Moon Stone to exchange for more things. The bad thing was that they did not know if they could keep these Water Moon Stones. Why are we afraid of them? If they want to come, we'll kill them all. A warrior's eyes were cold. In his tawny eyes, the vertical pupils looked colder and sharper. However, he was hot-tempered. Yes. We'll kill them all. Just like before. We're not afraid. Several younger people could not help shouting. Shut up. The chief Fan Mu scolded. There were many people who were not afraid of death, but it did not mean that they were not worried. It could be foreseen that this time, if the drumming tribe really joined forces with others to attack the drumming tribe, what would happen to the drumming tribe? Let's go and find some people. A middle-aged warrior next to him said. Fan Mu shook his head. There were only a few days left. No one near them was willing to get involved. They were not familiar with those far away. Even if they could persuade others to help, they might invite a wolf into the house. Fan Mu did not trust them. The room suddenly became quiet. Only several young people were breathing heavily. They were angry because the drumming tribe repeatedly came to rob the Water Moon Stones. They were also angry that the surrounding tribes did not help. If only Xiao Xian's tribe was here. A man suddenly whispered. When Xiao Xian left, he said that the Yanjiao tribe and the drumming tribe would have friendly exchanges. If the Yanjiao tribe was here, they would help. But where are we going to find the people of the Flaming Horns tribe? Xiaofan did not say where their tribe was. The room became quiet again. At this time, a whistle came from the river bank. What's going on? Someone is attacking so soon? No, it's not like someone is attacking. It's more like, not long after, a patrolling warrior rushed in, panting. He ran too fast and did not stop, so he was caught by Fan Mu and forced to stop. The man's face was red, either because he was running or because he was too excited. What's going on? Fan Mu asked. When the warrior was about to speak, Fan Mu heard a long and loud eagle cry. It was very familiar. Chapter 230. Originally, they were preparing for battle, but when they heard the whistle, they tensed up again. Then came the cry of an eagle, which made everyone a little bewildered. But soon, everyone was sure, because they saw the leader and the shaman, as well as the group of people behind the leader, rushing straight to the riverbank. Could it be? Fu Shi, who was patrolling, was surprised. Brother, I have something to do, so I'll leave for a while. Fu Shi said to the people next to him, and then ran to the riverbank. Chen Jia, who was left at home, was secretly sharpening his knife. After hearing the eagle cry, he didn't even have time to hide his knife, and rushed to the riverbank with it. He was so familiar with the eagle cry, because he often heard it. Fan Mu, the chief, and the others, kept looking for the eagle in the sky, and then followed him to the riverbank. It's Xiaofan. Fan Mu said happily. He didn't expect that Xiaofan would come. He could ask Xiaofan if he could ask the Yanjiao tribe to come and help. Chief, look! The people next to him elbowed Fan Mu. Because he was too excited, he didn't control his strength well. Usually, he wouldn't dare to do this, but at this time, he didn't care. Fan Mu was about to ask, but when he looked down and saw the situation on the river, he suddenly opened his eyes wide. Not only Fan Mu, but also everyone who came to see the scene in front of them were stunned. On the surface of the river in the distance, many boats were approaching this place. Although they couldn't compare with some boats of the Longboat tribe, for the people of the Drumming tribe, these were the biggest and best boats they had ever seen, especially the three in the front. Is that the Longboat tribe? This was the first thought that came to the people who saw the fleet. No, it's not. That's the Yanjiao tribe. The people next to him shouted, and their voices were trembling with excitement. Although the boats were still a little far away, people with good eyesight could vaguely see the patterns painted on the sails, which were like the totem patterns of the Yanjiao tribe they had seen in Xiaofan's place. The Yanjiao tribe. It was said that Xiaofan had a good relationship with the Yanjiao tribe. Did the Yanjiao tribe get the news and come to help? If so, it would be great. When the people around them were avoiding them like the plague, when they thought that they would have to face the attacks from all sides alone, when they were planning to suffer the greatest loss, a helper came. How great was this news? On the other side, the people on the boat, they were getting closer and closer. We're finally reaching the shore. Are they people of the Drumming tribe? Are they all coming to welcome us? So many people. Tua, can you help me check if the horns on my head are crooked? Didn't they said there were crocodiles? Where are the crocodiles? Where are the crocodiles? Cha-cha, cha-cha, ao, aos, ao. Aos, ao, tribe, aos, ao, tribes, ao, and ao. Ao. Was, after all, of ao, b, ao, of the, ao. This was, ao. He was trying to maintain a dignified image of a leader, but he was sweating too much because he wiped his palms on his animal skin coat from time to time. The shaman kept a standard shaman smile and looked calm. If people didn't know him well, they would think that the old man was very calm. Cha-Cha, who flew over first, hovered in the air for a while. He didn't land until the chief and the shaman of the drumming tribe arrived. When he was close to the ground, Xiaofan loosened his hand holding the eagle's claw and landed on the ground, standing steadily. Everyone, long time no see. Xiaofan looked at the people of the drumming tribe and smiled. Xiaofan. Xiaofan, you've grown taller. Are you here to help? Xiaofan, are the people behind you from your tribe? Fan Mu pushed aside the people squeezing forward, suppressed the excitement and joy in his heart, and said to Xiaofan, long time no see. Welcome to the drumming tribe again. Well, our tribe is going back to the old haunt this time, so we need to pass through your tribe. Sorry to bother you. Xiaofan said. In the drumming tribe, there were several tributaries flowing to the river, one of which was relatively wide. Now the river level hadn't dropped much, so boats could go in from there. No problem. Fan Mu agreed without hesitation, but glanced at the shaman, and then said to Xiaofan, I'll meet them in person. Xiaofan noticed the conversation between the two leaders of the drumming tribe and knew that there was something hidden in it. Thinking that it was close to the harvest time of the water moonstones of the drumming tribe, he guessed that it was related to this matter. After talking with Fan Mu, Xiaofan returned to the boat again and told the shaman and Ao about Fan Mu's reply and his guess. If it's just the invasion and robbery you mentioned, it's okay to help them. After all, they have helped you and Yanji. This is the first tribe we've seen. As you said, Xian, since we should have friendly exchanges and help each other, we should help them when they are in trouble. Ao said. Indeed. The shaman said, the Yanjiao tribe shouldn't be silent. Ao smiled, looked at the approaching shore, and said, then let's take this as the first whetstone for our Yanjiao tribe after we return. The fleet sailed towards the tributary of the drumming tribe, and the people on the shore also gathered there. The people of the drumming tribe were ecstatic when they saw Xiaofan and the Yanjiao tribe at the beginning, and laughed out loud. But as the fleet got closer and closer, they gradually quieted down. When the fleet got closer, the people of the drumming tribe were stunned when they saw the well-dressed people on the ships. The people of the Yanjiao tribe were dressed a little too gorgeously. On such a hot day, they wore thick animal skins. Didn't they feel hot? But the skin looked really good. It was oily and smooth. They would definitely keep warm in winter. They wondered how many water moonstones they could exchange for it. And those people were wearing necklaces made of animal teeth. Damn, look at those animal teeth. What kind of beast did that belong to? Did a beast have such big teeth? The ships of the Yanjiao tribe sailed from the river to the tributary, and then docked on the shore. The people of the two tribes could see each other clearly. In fact, the people of the Yanjiao tribe were also excited. But when they saw that the chief was so serious, they also became serious. Following the chief was the right thing to do. The people of the Yanjiao tribe were as serious as when dealing with ferocious beasts. Therefore, a murderous aura spread out. A gust of wind blew. Fu Shi shivered and scratched his arm. He whispered to the people next to him, "Why do I feel a little?" He didn't say the word scared. The others had the same feeling as him. Originally, they thought that the people of their own tribe were domineering enough. But today, when they saw the people of the Yanjiao tribe, they suddenly felt that there was always someone better than them. They looked so tough. Even Xiaofan didn't look like that. Is this really a small tribe? Someone asked in a low voice. If they only looked at the number of people, it was indeed not a large tribe. But they all looked like they were not to be trifled with, and the beasts on the ships were eager to have a try. No. Chief, those on the ships are not beasts, are they? I have never seen such beasts. A warrior came over and pointed at the beasts on the ships, and said to Fan Mu. They are ferocious beasts. Fan Mu stared at the ships and said word by word. He was not sure when he first saw them, but now he was closer. The more he looked at them, the more he felt something was wrong. He thought that Xiaoxian's eagle was a ferocious beast. So, those on the ships were probably ferocious beasts too. Fan Mu suppressed the shock in his heart. His palm holding the knife was sweaty. He really didn't expect that the Yanjiao tribe would be such a tribe. Even though there were not many people, Fan Mu was sure that if the two sides fought now, the drumming tribe would definitely be at a disadvantage, and it would be very miserable. The wooden ladder was put down. On the largest ship, the chief and the shaman walked down side by side. Behind them were two team leaders, and behind them were the excellent young warriors of the Yanjiao tribe. Originally, many people wanted to jump off the ship directly, but Ao told them to walk down the ladder, so they all followed him. Welcome to the drumming tribe. I am Fan Mu, the chief of the drumming tribe. Fan Mu stepped forward with a perfect smile and said, "Nice to meet you." Ao's serious face also showed a smile. I am Ao, the chief of the Yanjiao tribe. The two shamans also faced each other and saluted in the way of their respective tribes. For shamans, saluting was also a very important thing, just like a ceremony. After the introduction, one of the two shamans smiled mysteriously, while the other smiled meaningfully. It seemed that everything was understood without words. Xiaoxian, who was watching aside, was speechless. It was not easy to be a shaman. Look at these two, they seem to have had a deep conversation before they spoke. According to Xiaoxian's understanding of shamans, the two shamans had a good impression of each other. They had really been friends for a long time. The chief and the shaman of the drumming tribe invited the people of the Flaming Horns tribe, and Ao also planned to rest for a few days in the drumming tribe. Although everyone looked very energetic now, it was only because they saw the first outsider on the shore. They were still tired and needed a good rest. Some people followed Ao and the shaman into the residential area of the drumming tribe, while others, under the guidance of the drumming tribe, rowed the ship to a suitable berthing point on the tributary. But they did not get off the ship. Without the chief's order, they still had to stay on the ship. Moreover, even if they were excited to see the drumming tribe, they still needed to be vigilant. Only a few ferocious beasts, who were bored out of their minds, clung to the edge of the ship and looked at the drumming tribe people below the ship, which made the drumming tribe people's hair stand on end. After Fan Mu led people into the tribe, he chatted with Ao and told him about his difficult situation. The Yanjiao tribe is naturally willing to help the drumming tribe in such a dangerous situation. After all, Xian has also received your help. It's just that my people need a rest. The drumming tribe can provide all the accommodation and food, so that the Yanjiao warriors can have a good rest. Fan Mu hurriedly said. The drumming tribe had a large area, so it was not a problem to build a batch of houses in a few days. We can solve the problem of food by ourselves. We only need some houses. After all, there was still the ship. While the two chiefs were talking about the settlement, outside the house, Xiaoxian and Fushi were also chatting. The shaman and Ao allowed Xiaoxian to learn more about the situation outside. Those bastards who robbed the water moonstones. I heard that they found a helper this year, Xiaoxian. If you didn't come, the drumming tribe might have to face them alone. Fushi said angrily. Listening to Fushi, Xiaoxian also roughly understood what was going to happen. Don't worry, we won't stand by and do nothing. Xiaoxian said. Ao had already decided to use this matter as the first whetstone. Moreover, the warriors had been bored out of their minds these days, so their hands must have been itching for a long time. The difference was that the warriors of the tribe faced ferocious beasts before, but now they had to face people. Ao wanted to see the warriors' performance. Chapter 231. With the arrival of the Yanjiao tribe, the drumming tribesmen, who were originally nervous and worried, felt less pressure. At least in the coming war, they would not be fighting alone. With a helper, they felt more at ease. After the two chiefs finished talking, they began to build houses in a place with fewer ponds. After all, not everyone liked to live on ponds. Fan Mu had considered this point, and after discussing it with Ao, they decided to divide the area. That place was slightly away from the drumming tribe's dwelling area. Usually, besides the patrolling team, no one would go there, so Ao took a fancy to it. Even if the two tribes cooperated, they would still be on guard against each other. They were not so familiar with each other that they would not guard against each other. Moreover, that place was closer to the tributary where they docked their ships. Not only could it solve the housing problem, but it could also maintain a satisfactory distance. Naturally, there were no objections. With the help of the drumming tribesmen, the construction efficiency was naturally faster. The next day, there were many more houses in that area full of weeds and trees. The houses were relatively simple, but it did not matter. The Yanjiao tribesmen did not care. They were not going to live here for long. Once the drumming tribe's affairs were settled, they would leave. The elderly, women, and children were still placed on the ships. The ships were relatively safe. If there was an invasion, the Yanjiao tribesmen would do their best to prevent the invaders from boarding. Xiaofan was taking care of the trees and bushes around the newly built temporary residence, and setting up some warning traps. Hearing someone call his name, he looked up. After 2 years, Chen Jia had obviously grown a lot taller, but there was a scar on his face, like a knife wound. What happened? Xiaofan pointed at the scar on Chen Jia's face. This? Chen Jia laughed, very proud. It was left from last year's Water Moon Festival. The drumming tribe had a lot of trouble every year during the Water Moon Festival. Last year, Chen Jia participated in the defense battle and was slightly injured. The scar on his face was left at that time. While laughing, Chen Jia became depressed again. This year, my father did not let me participate in the battle. I had to secretly sharpen my knife. Because of the news, the people of the drumming tribe sounded the highest alarm. Unless it was absolutely necessary, they naturally wouldn't allow these young children to join. If anything happened to the warriors who participated in the battle, these young people who were still in their growth period would be the tribe's future hope. Seeing Xiaofan, Chen Jia was very happy. He told Xiaofan everything that had happened in the past 2 years, especially his heroic battle last year. Young warriors were always happy to share their glorious achievements with others. After he finished speaking, Chen Jia looked around. Seeing that no one was paying attention to them, he asked in a low voice, "Xiaofan, do the people in your tribe usually dress like this?" Chen Jia gestured to his head, neck, and body. "No, I only dress up like this on important days," Xiaofan said. Did that mean that the Yanjiao tribe still valued their own tribe? Chen Jia was very happy. He decided to go back and tell everyone about this discovery. "That's right, Xiaofan, where's your animal skin coat?" Chen Jia looked inside the house. Previously, when he saw the Yanjiao tribe people, his gaze never left the Yanjiao tribe people's bodies. Those unknown animal skins and all kinds of ornaments, as well as those big teeth, made his eyes stare straight. However, Chen Jia wasn't familiar with the other Yanjiao tribe people, so he could only come to Xiaofan's place. He wanted to see the Yanjiao tribe's clothing, so he could go back and brag to others. "I only brought one piece. It's in the wooden box inside. The rest are on the boat." Xiaofan pointed to the wooden box in the corner. This was something that old Ku had asked Caesar to send over early in the morning. There were 2 boxes. One contained daily necessities and clothes, and the other contained the enlarged thorn black wind clothing. Old Ku was worried that Xiaofan wouldn't have anything to show off. "Can I take a look?" Chen Jia asked expectantly. "Sure." Chen Jia happily ran to the front of the wooden box and opened it. Oh, Chen Jia touched the clothes that were covered with spikes. Other than crocodiles, they had only seen a few wild beasts. They had never seen a beast with so many long thorns. While Chen Jia was looking at the thorn-black winged clothing with shining eyes, Xiaofan also casually asked about the upcoming war. Don't underestimate this group of rebellious children. The things that they know may not be less than the adults. Chen Jia and the other children have a very close relationship with each other. Other than the drumming tribe, there's also the drumming tribe. It's also a very dangerous tribe. Chen Jia said. Drumming tribe? Yes, a friend of mine overheard it. It's just that the drumming tribe is close to the central region and rarely comes here. This time, they will probably come, but I'm not sure. Chen Jia told Xiaofan all the information he had gathered. As Xiaofan listened, he changed the direction of the thin silk thread in his hand. He thought to himself, it seems that this time, there will be many people coming here to snatch the water moonstones. Moreover, they are all fierce characters. Maybe there will be people from the central region involved. No wonder the people of the drumming tribe were so desperate. The Yanjiao tribe, I have to be more cautious. At night, Xiaofan shared a room with 8 warriors. Among them were Kiki and Tuo. They were all people he knew. As the night deepened, there were no fires in the drumming tribe. The Yanjiao tribe also went to bed early. There were no fires around, only the moonlight sprinkling down. In the middle of the night, Kiki woke up because he wanted to pee. He got up in a daze and went outside to relieve himself. Not long after Kiki went out, an undetectable buzzing sound was heard. Xiaofan suddenly opened his eyes and carefully identified the direction of the silk thread. Xiaofan took out his leather whistle and blew it a few times. It sounded like the sound of insects in the night. Kiki, who was walking in a daze from his room into the forest, suddenly stopped. He yawned and continued to walk forward. However, after stretching his body, he put his hand on the hilt of the knife at his waist. It was a habit of hunting. When outside, no matter where, no matter what, the knife would never leave his body. It was the first time he came to such a strange tribe, so he had to be more careful. Except for the first day when everyone dressed up, they changed back to their original clothes on the second day, which made it easier to work. At this time, most of the people of the Yanjiao tribe were wearing sleeveless animal skin clothes. On Keek's exposed strong arms, the muscles were like hard stones, and the meridians on his arms were pulsing. His strong body looked like a solid wall. At first glance, he really did look like someone from the drumming tribe. Kiki walked into the depths of the forest step by step. While walking, Kiki suddenly adjusted the totem power in his body to the limit. The momentum around his body rose instantly, and the flame-like lines appeared clearly on his exposed arms. He stomped his feet on the ground, splashing mud and grass. Keek's figure shot out like a bullet, rushing in one direction. Was he discovered? The man in the grass didn't know how he was discovered so quickly, even though he was good at hiding. When did the people of the drumming tribe become so sharp? The man hiding in the grass didn't expect that the sleepy guy would suddenly attack. Moreover, the guy was running straight towards him. He was so fast that he didn't have much time to react. This kind of attack was similar to the people of the drumming tribe, who broke out in an instant and closely followed the prey. The person in the grass also reacted quickly. He hurriedly stepped back a few meters. His movement was not as fierce as Keek's, but it was also very fast. His figure flashed from left to right, and the next moment, he suddenly rushed to another direction like lightning. His whole person was like a ghost in the night, drifting unpredictably. He thought that after dodging the first explosion, he would be able to get rid of the opponent's tight chase. But soon, he found that it was useless. The wall-like figure kept chasing him, and became more and more flexible. His speed was no slower than his. How could it be? The man who was dodging was horrified. Didn't they say that when facing the people of the drumming tribe, as long as he dodged the first explosion, he would be able to get rid of them? But what was going on now? The two sides were getting closer and closer. The stone knife flashed with the night wind, mixed with the cold killing intent. The man only felt a gust of wind. His sensitive nose was full of fierce blood smell. It didn't smell like human blood, but more like something more dangerous. The man's eyes flashed with despair. His whole body was cold, and his legs seemed to be frozen. His movements were slow for a moment. He could hear the sound of his heart beating like a thunder drum. In the sparse woods, under the moonlight, Keek's face also became clear. Seeing Keek's face, the man's pupils shrank. No. No. This was not the people of the drumming tribe. Who the hell was this? Before he lost consciousness, he could only see the shadow of the knife and the flame-like lines under the moonlight. Chapter 232. After Kiki finished peeing, he yawned and went back with the bloody man in his hand. As soon as he opened the door, he found several pairs of eyes staring at him. The moonlight shining through the door was reflected in the eyes. Kiki was so scared that the sleepiness he had just woken up disappeared immediately. "What's wrong?" Kiki asked nervously. Although there were no torches in the room, everyone could see clearly what Kiki was carrying because of the moonlight. Not to mention, there was a strong smell of blood. Just now when Xiaofan blew the whistle, the people who were asleep all got up and silently approached the door, ready to go out and solve the problem if something really happened. However, they didn't hear Keek's signal for help for a long time. Now it seemed that this guy had solved the problem. "What's that in your hand?" Tua asked. He was worried that Kiki would kill the patrolling warriors of the drumming tribe. It was rare for them to meet a foreign tribe, and they had a cooperative relationship. It would be bad if Kiki made trouble at this time. "Oh, this, I don't know who it is." Kiki scratched his head and put the man down. He didn't know what to say. He didn't feel anything when he killed the man, but now he suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. At that time, he acted according to his habit. He didn't care whether it was a man or a ferocious beast hiding in the grass. He dealt with the man in the same way he dealt with the ferocious beast. After he finished, he found that this time was different. Before Kiki could answer, Xiaofan went closer to have a look. The man was almost cut in half by Keek's knife. The blood started from the woods and extended to here. "He's not from the drumming tribe," Xiaofan said after seeing the man's appearance. "Not from the drumming tribe? Then who is it?" "He's not from Yanjiao either." Tua went closer, not caring about the blood and grass. He searched the dead man on the ground, but found nothing. "Tomorrow, let the shaman and chief have a look. Or, let the people of the drumming tribe have a look. They are more familiar with the tribes here. Let's see if they can confirm it," Xiaofan said. Kiki answered and then climbed onto the wooden bed. He put his arms behind his head and stared at the dark ceiling. Seeing this, Xiaofan thought that this was the first time Kiki had killed someone, so he asked, "Kiki, do you feel uncomfortable? Can't get used to it?" Hearing this, the rest of the people didn't feel sleepy anymore. They wanted to hear Keek's next answer. Kiki kept silent for a few seconds, then said slowly, "No." "What is that?" Someone couldn't help but ask. After all, they had no experience in dealing with people like this. Thinking about the upcoming battle, they wanted to learn from Kiki, who had just experienced it himself. Experience was something that warriors had always valued. That is. Kiki paused after saying 2 words. "What is it?" "I just feel. Why is this person so weak? It's not satisfying to kill him with 1 strike." Kiki said. Xiaofan was speechless. This guy's old habit of looking down on people who could be killed with a single slash was back again. If the dead man heard this, he would be so angry that he would spit out blood. There were still a few days before the Water Moon Festival in the drumming tribe, and now the invaders had sent someone to investigate. The one sent here at this time was definitely not weak. At least, he was confident that he could avoid the patrols of the drumming tribe. However, he had triggered the warning system set by Xiaofan in the forest. At the same time, Kiki, as a member of the advance group, had always gone all out when he met an enemy. He couldn't afford to be careless or slow down. This was the main reason why he killed the man with one slash. After chatting for a while, the warriors were too tired and fell asleep. Kiki also threw the man who was almost cut in half at the door. The next day, when the people of the drumming tribe came, they were shocked when they saw the scene at the door. They thought it was a civil war among the Yanjiao tribes. After hearing Xiaofan's words, they became serious. To be on the safe side, they took the dead man with them and went to the chief of the drumming tribe with Kiki and Xiaofan. Ao also went to check the situation. After carefully observing the dead man, Fan Mu shook his head and said, "I don't know which tribe he came from." The people of the drumming tribe didn't travel around as much as the people of the Pu tribe, so they only knew the tribes closest to them and the tribes that often attacked them. They didn't know anything else. He should be the helper of the drumming tribe this time. A man beside Fan Mu said, he avoided the patrols outside. He could avoid the patrols outside, but he was easily killed by Kiki. Fan Mu and the shaman of the drumming tribe looked at each other and didn't say anything. They just had a new evaluation of the strength of the Yanjiao tribe's warriors, which could be seen from the slash marks on the dead man's body. Fan Mu and the others wanted to ask more about what happened last night, such as whether the enemy showed his totem or not, but Kiki's answers almost made them suffer internal injuries. Too sleepy, didn't pay attention, don't remember. As the most outstanding warrior of the younger generation of the drumming tribe, Qingyi looked at Kiki, who was scratching his ears and cheeks to recall the battle last night, and thought to himself. When Kiki was reenacting what happened last night, there was no murderous look on his face, nor in his words. There was only stupidity between his eyebrows, and no murderous look. Just by looking at the appearance, people of the Yanjiao tribe would definitely be more popular outside than the people of the drumming tribe, if they didn't wear the very distinctive clothes on the first day. It was a matter of appearance. People of the drumming tribe generally looked more exaggerated. However, as a person who often led a team to trade, Qingyi had an instinct of dealing with different people. He could feel a kind of dangerous aura from Kiki, like the wild beasts in the deep mountains who would kill their prey once they set their eyes on it. Fan Mu asked for a long time, but still didn't get much useful information, so he gave up and said to Ao, "It seems that we have to deploy as soon as possible." "Yes." Ao nodded. When the people of the drumming tribe and the people of the Yanjiao tribe were discussing how to deploy, hundreds of people of the drumming tribe gathered in a mountain not far from the border of the drumming tribe. The man in the lead was tall and thin, wearing black animal skin. On his face, a scar extended from his forehead to his jaw, and crossed his whole face. Coupled with his gloomy eyes, he looked like a poisonous snake. He was the leader who led the drumming tribe to attack the drumming tribe and rob the water moonstones, Ji. The man in the lead was holding a half-meter-long knife made of animal bones, looking in the direction of the drumming tribe. After a short while, he heard something, so he looked back and raised his chin. "Finally here? I thought you gave up this good thing. I didn't expect you to still come. Let me be happy for nothing." Nearly 500 people came over. Although these people looked very ordinary, not as strong as the people of the drumming tribe, and not as murderous as the people of the drumming tribe, their footsteps were very light. This was not intentional, but a kind of habit, a habit cultivated since childhood. Among them, each totem warrior was holding a dagger-like long-handled weapon made of stone, animal bones, or beast horns. It's rare to have such a good opportunity. We of the drumming tribe certainly won't give it up. Among the people who came over, the leader laughed. As for the reason why we are late. We sent 2 people to the drumming tribe yesterday, but only one came back this morning. The man who was laughing just now, the smile in his eyes disappeared in an instant, and was replaced by gloominess and fierceness. Such a rapid change was very strange. Ji frowned, and the scar on his face became more and more ferocious. What do you want to say? You didn't tell us that the people of the drumming tribe found helpers. The man said angrily. Helpers? Ji looked sideways at the leader of the drumming tribe, the corners of his mouth raised, and there was a trace of disdain in his eyes. So what? If the drumming tribe is afraid, you can leave now. The drumming tribe never begged you to come with us, and we don't need it. In Ji's view, even if the drumming tribe found helpers, they would be some small tribes with little sense of existence in the periphery, and there was nothing to be afraid of. In your dreams. The leader of the drumming tribe sneered. In fact, his idea was similar to Ji's. After all, this was not the central region. They didn't need to be careful in everything. He was just more cautious than Ji. Of the 2 people sent out, only one came back, and the other didn't come back at the agreed time. Obviously, something happened. We still have to be careful. It's good to send someone to inquire about it. The person I sent out to inquire only heard that they found helpers, but didn't find out who the helpers of the drumming tribe were. The defense of the drumming tribe is much tighter, and he couldn't go deep into the residence of the drumming tribe to inquire. Enough. Ji impatiently interrupted the other party's words, saying, even if the group of Gorloks found helpers, who could they find? Look at how timid you are. The people of the drumming tribe thought, do you think everyone is as greedy and crazy as the people of the drumming tribe? The people of the drumming tribe were just greedy, but they were also afraid of death. If they lost their lives, why would they want precious things? Ji looked at the people of the drumming tribe sarcastically, and then glanced at other places on the mountain. On this mountain and the surrounding mountains, there were many people who wanted to play the game of mantis stalking the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Some people wanted to sneak into the drumming tribe when the battle was chaotic. Ji didn't intend to pay attention to these people. When they got all the things in their hands, they would deal with these weak and poor creatures. Ji took out a wooden whistle and blew it. Whoosh! A figure flew over the woods behind him and hovered in the sky twice, as if showing its heroic appearance to the people below. A kite trained by the feather tribe? The leader of the drumming tribe was surprised. Ji raised an arm and proudly looked at the bird in the sky flying down and standing on his shoulder. This was a raptor nearly 1 meter high with sharp eyes. When it spread its wings, it looked bigger and more powerful. The bird's claws were so strong that the animal skin coat on Ji's arm was torn by the bird's claws, but Ji didn't care. This was the crown kite that Ji exchanged a lot of things from the feather tribe to inquire about the situation. It looked similar to other kites, except that it had a few fan-shaped feathers on its head, like the crown on a rooster's head. That was why it was called a crown kite. It was a popular bird among the birds domesticated by the feather tribe for trading. Chapter 233. This kind of bird in the feather tribe was usually exchanged by other tribes to help them find people or inquire about some simple information. It could also be used as an early warning. However, to exchange for this kind of bird, a lot of food was needed. If you used shell coins, you would need several bunches to exchange for one bird. And this kind of crowned kite needed more things. It was expensive but very popular, especially in the central region. Maybe the failure made the drumming tribe a little worried, so this time they didn't hesitate to exchange for a crown kite at a high price. The crown kite was good at inquiring about the situation. It was this crown kite that told Ji about the other people hiding in the surrounding forest. In addition, the crown kite was more powerful than the common kites. When the crown kite was there, many birds in the forest would avoid it. Even if they didn't, they wouldn't collide with it easily. Xi showed the crown kite standing on his arm to the drumming tribe people, and then said slowly, "It's up to us to inquire about the situation over there." The people of the drumming tribe agreed with Xi's action very much, thinking that this man was not so crazy as to be brainless. But he must have spent a lot of things to exchange for such a bird from the feather tribe. If it were their drumming tribe, they wouldn't exchange too many things for a bird. Xi said something to the crown kite and raised his arm. "Go!" The crown kite flew up and screamed, as if it was asking other birds around to make way for it. Looking at the figure flying to the drumming tribe in the sky, Xi's smile became bigger and bigger. It won't take long for it to come back and tell us about the situation in the drumming tribe. Unfortunately, as soon as Xi finished his words and the smile on his face didn't disappear, he saw the crown kite that flew into the territory of the drumming tribe hurriedly fly back here, flapping its wings hard, as if something was chasing it. If it was a beast running on the ground, it could really be described as pissing in its pants. The drumming tribe people looked at the crown kite flying back in the sky, and turned to look at Xi, who was standing there with a stiff smile on his face. Was this what he meant by, "It won't take long to know"? Wasn't it too fast? Anyone who saw such a situation would be suspicious. It was not the right way to inquire. Obviously, there was something wrong. Suppressing the anger in his heart, Xi took out the wooden whistle and blew it, trying hard not to crush it. After hearing the whistle, the flying crown kite stopped flapping its wings for a while, but it didn't mean to stop. It glided directly over their heads and disappeared in the blink of an eye. No matter how Xi whistled or called, the eagle didn't come out. Ha ha ha. The leader of the drumming tribe laughed out loud. He was happy to see the drumming tribe make a fool of themselves. After spending so many things, this was all he got in return. Pa! Xi was so angry that he crushed the wooden whistle. There's no need to investigate anymore. When the time comes, just charge. This time, he brought 200 more people than the last time he attacked the drumming tribe. They were all intermediate totem warriors and 2 more senior totem warriors. There were still some people at the foot of the mountain. Together with the people of the drumming tribe, there were nearly 2,000 people. It would definitely be easier than last time. They would definitely be able to snatch the water moonstone successfully. The total number of the drumming tribe was large, but there were not many people who were a real threat. Originally, the tribe had planned to send another 1,000 people, but Xi refused. The more people there were, the less credit he could get. After all, some of the things he brought back were trophies that could be kept by himself. They just wanted to snatch things, not to fight for territory. If the 2 tribes were to fight, it would be more than just these people. It was better to destroy the drumming tribe directly. No, if he destroyed the drumming tribe, where would he get the water moonstone? Xi suppressed the idea in his heart. On the side of the drumming tribe, 2 more people were sent to the drumming tribe to inquire. This time, they didn't go deep, but they came back. They also found out that the reinforcements of the drumming tribe were called Yanjiao tribe. But that was all. How about it? I'll tell you. Xi had never heard of the Yanjiao tribe. It's just a small, unknown tribe on the periphery. Don't worry. Some people of the drumming tribe had heard of it, but not many, and they didn't think it was very important. They seemed to have heard of it in the last 2 years. But there was no such tribe in the central region. This time, the people of the drumming tribe were relieved. As long as there was no tribe in the central region, it was fine. They felt relatively easy and confident to deal with a small tribe on the periphery. Several days passed in the blink of an eye. The full moon finally came. For the people of the Yanjiao tribe, it was the first time for them to see such a spectacle in the drumming tribe. The muddy water became clear and transparent, and there were shining stones under the river. However, the people of the Yanjiao tribe didn't have much sense of value now. They just found the water moonstone fresh, and they couldn't eat it. Seeing the reaction of the Yanjiao tribe, the people of the drumming tribe finally felt relieved. They thought that the people of the Yanjiao tribe were all good people. Ao personally led some people to guard an area on the territory of the drumming tribe. This is our first battle here, and it's also a significant one. Our opponents are no longer the ferocious beasts in the forest, but the invaders from other tribes. They're the same as us. But what I want to say is, although the invaders are also humans and not ferocious beasts, I still hope you can treat them seriously like how you hunt ferocious beasts. Just like Kiki, let these invaders see the ability of the Yanjiao tribe. Let them remember how the Yanjiao tribe defeated them. Being praised by the chief in public, Kiki felt very proud. What's there to be proud of? When the time comes, I'll definitely hunt more than you. Tuo and the others secretly thought. Ao's gaze swept across the people gathered here and said solemnly, the invaders are not my people. Kill the invaders. Kill. The people seemed to have returned to the time when they were in the tribe, standing on the top of the mountain before the hunt, mobilizing before the hunt. At this time, they really wanted to sing the hunting song, but the chief didn't allow it. After finishing his words, Ao waved his hand, and the people gathered here immediately scattered to different places. This was the arrangement they had made in advance. They were divided into hunting groups, and each group had its own place to be responsible for. Xiao Xian was assigned to Kik's group. They were all members of the advance group, and later they would catch some powerful people, such as middle-level and senior totem warriors. It was the first time for them to face such a hunt, so many people were very nervous and excited. After holding back for so long, they could finally hunt. Hey, in the air, Cha-Cha had already warned. Then, not far away, there came the sound of the people patrolling outside the drumming tribe. This meant that the people over there had officially set off. Ao stood in the same place and didn't move. He quietly listened to the movements nearby, as well as some small sounds in the distance that were quickly approaching. Whoosh, an arrow, from the other side of the forest, was shot towards Ao who was standing there, straight to his face. This arrow was carefully made, and the arrowhead was also polished with the best stone material, which could easily penetrate a tree trunk. The archer's archery was also very good. The arrow passed through the forest, but didn't touch a branch or a leaf. Instead, it caught a little gap that was difficult to find in the forest. However, when this fierce arrow was half an arm away from Ao, it was firmly caught and then thrown back. It almost followed the trajectory of the arrow, but after all, it missed Ao a little. Finally, with a tut sound, it shot into the trunk of a tree. Ji, who shot this arrow, looked at Ao who was across the forest. His eyelids twitched, and a strong sense of crisis suddenly came to him. He was a senior totem warrior, and so was the person standing there. Looking at the arrow that pierced into the trunk not far away, Ji looked at the other side of the forest, and happened to meet Ao's eyes. Ao held the long spear in his hand, staring at the archer. The totem power in his body was running to the peak, and all the totem patterns on his body appeared. The flame-like totem patterns of senior totem warriors almost covered his whole body, extending to his fingers. A strong sense of foreboding spread all over his body. Ji immediately jumped down from the tree and left the original place. That kind of totem was definitely not from any tribe he had ever seen. This was the Yanjiao tribe? Ji thought in his heart. His thumb rubbed on the long handle, and then, just like he had thrown it thousands of times in hunting, Ao threw the long spear in his hand. Fast. The long spear was like a sudden lightning, quickly passing through the gap between the trees, rubbing the bark of some trees on the way, and then penetrating the body of an invader who rushed over. The long spear went through his body, and the bright red blood was brought out with the long spear. However, the long spear didn't stop flying out like the blood, but penetrated two trees at a faster speed than the splashing blood, and went to Ji. However, Ji quickly changed his position, and the place where he was just now, another warrior of the drumming tribe passed by. After penetrating one person and two trees, the long spear pierced the body of the second invader, and finally nailed deeply into a tree as thick as a bucket. Wherever the spear had touched, the bark and wood chips on the tree trunk exploded, producing a loud bang. Crack, 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 that tree fell down. Seeing the situation over there, Ji was shocked. The Yanjiao tribe didn't seem to be as weak as they thought. Except for Ao's place, there were fights and killings everywhere else. Some people of the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe were really good at hiding, but for the Yanjiao tribesmen who often dealt with the ferocious beasts in the mountains and forests, this was really nothing. This was also the reason why Kiki sensed the opponent's position after receiving Xiao Xian's warning. Xiao Xian waved the stone knife in his hand, and the stone knife chopped down from the air turned into a grey lightning, going straight behind the grass in front of him. But when it was about to hit the grass, the wrist holding the knife slightly shook, and the knife suddenly changed its original route and stabbed into the grass. Seeing Xiao Xian's knife coming at him, the man picked up the stone tool in his hand, intending to block it. Unexpectedly, Xiao Xian suddenly changed his attack midway. He didn't have time to follow the change, and his forearm was pierced through by the stone knife. The knife quickly pierced through the arm bone and pierced the man's neck without stopping. Pulling out the knife, Xiao Xian looked at the other people in other places. Tuo beheaded an invader of the drumming tribe with one knife, without any slack. As Ao said, he treated every invader like how he faced the ferocious beasts when he was hunting. The burst of totem power, every swing of the knife, every attack, was just like when he was hunting in the mountains and forests of the tribe. He didn't use the knife, but once he did, he used the strength to chop the ferocious beasts. Even the ferocious beasts with thick skin and hard armor would bleed if they were hit, let alone these unarmored humans. Tuo's knife was even more powerful than Kiki's that day. The man who was hit by Tuo's knife didn't even have time to say a word before his body split open. Hot blood sprayed out, splashing on the ground, on the tree trunk, in the grass, and even on Tuo's body. Without stopping, Tuo quickly set his target on the second intruder. He waved his sword before Xiao Xian could. The blade quickly drew a horizontal arc in the air, and the second intruder was directly cut in half at the waist. The attack was executed in a single breath. The speed, the ruthlessness, and the ferocity of the saber completely exceeded the invader's imagination. Puff! The color of blood spread out like a red fountain. The man who was hit by the knife was still in the air, but below the waist, he ran 2 steps before falling down. When Fu Shi came over with 2 warriors of the drumming tribe to check on the situation of the Yanjiao tribe, they happened to see this scene. They had seen many similar situations along the way, and it had already made them feel a chill in their hearts. Sucking in a cold breath with the smell of blood, and then looking at the violent man in the killing field who was abnormally calm, Fu Shi and the others suddenly felt the hair on their head stand up. What kind of people were these? They were not inferior to the style of the drumming tribe at all. Even more terrifying, there was a kind of momentum that made people directly shrink back. The people of the drumming tribe also violently tore people apart, but when they saw the way the Yanjiao tribe acted, they couldn't help but suck in a cold breath. Noticing the arrival of Fu Shi and the others, and after cutting down the third invader, Tuo looked back in the direction of Fu Shi and the others and smiled in a friendly way. However, because he was on the battlefield, his eyes flashed with a little bit of cold light. Taking a deep breath, and then another, Fu Shi and the others felt like they were poured with the coldest ice in winter, and their bodies were about to explode from the cold. The drumming tribe was bloodthirsty? Yes. The drumming tribe was more bloodthirsty? Of course it was. Then what about the Yanjiao tribe? The people of the drumming tribe couldn't help but ask this question in their hearts. This was no longer a question of whether they were bloodthirsty or not, this was more like another level of killing. Looking at the stunned reactions of Fu Shi and the others, Xiaoxian actually felt very emotional. Before, he had thought that the people of the Yanjiao tribe would be merciful because it was the first time they faced a fellow human invader, and that would cause some psychological and physiological reactions. However, Xiaoxian admitted that he was still too naive. From Keek's time, Xiaoxian knew that when facing the same kind, the so-called psychological and physiological reactions were almost non-existent. Here, there was only the tribe, their own people, and the enemy. This was probably deeply engraved in their blood since birth. Of course, this also included Xiaoxian's current body. These people of the Flaming Horns tribe were like humanoid weapons that had been locked up for a long time. In the past, they were only confined in unknown places to practice. But now, these humanoid weapons were finally released. Chapter 234. Whether it was Tuo or the other members of the Yanjiao tribe, they all exuded a murderous aura that couldn't be ignored. It was so thick that it made people tremble. This was a group of hunters who wandered outside and were gradually forgotten by the world. They were a group of killing gods. They seemed to have walked out of a sea of blood, their violent and tyrannical aura making people breathless. However, these people were very restrained. As long as they wanted, they could hide all their murderous aura in the next moment. These people were like human-shaped weapons that had suddenly been thrown into this area, and they caused numerous bloody and murderous intents. Seeing Xiaoxian and Tuo looking at him doubtfully, Fu Shi came back to his senses and swallowed his saliva. He said, "The chief asked me to come over and see if you need help here." Towards the end, Fu Shi didn't have enough confidence and was embarrassed to continue. "Do you still need help? Don't you see that the situation here is almost one-sided? Cough, you don't seem to need it." Fu Shi said embarrassedly. "Don't worry here. Fu Shi, you can take care of the people in the tribe who are harvesting the water moonstones. There should be people who have hidden very well who have broken through. Even if the Yanjiao tribe was in charge of this area, there would be people who broke through the defense line in other places. Just like before, there might even be other people who interfered. The drumming tribe was also not peaceful. Well, since you're fine here, we'll leave first." After saying that, Fu Shi took his people and ran away. As he ran away, Fu Shi thought to himself, "I told you not to worry about the Yanjiao tribe people. Before, when I saw Xiaoxian's strength, I knew that the people in this tribe should be relatively strong." The chief was worried for nothing. These people of the Flaming Horns tribe were not weak. On the contrary, they were much stronger than they had imagined. If they were to fight against such a tribe, Fu Shi shuddered. However, with such a tribe as a helper, the drumming tribe was indeed much more relaxed this time. After Fu Shi left, Tuo shook off the blood on his knife. His body was also stained with a lot of blood, but he didn't bother to wipe it off. He went to the other side with Xiaoxian. No one had come here for the time being. It was a waste of time to just stand there. They needed to take the initiative to search. In the drumming tribe, there were many places with tall grass and dense shrubs. Many invaders who were good at hiding liked to wait in such places and wait for an opportunity. Xiaoxian walked into a bush that was taller than him and used his stone knife to push aside the weeds in front of him. He was vigilant of his surroundings. As long as there was the slightest movement, he would immediately slash with his knife. This was because most of the movements were caused by the hidden intruders. As he walked, two more people jumped out from the bushes. Xiaoxian was about to start, but Tuo stopped him, indicating that he should do it. Tuo was just about to use his saber when he saw a person rush out from the side. "I'll do it. I'll do it." Kiki rushed over before Tuo could do anything. The stone knife in his hand chopped at the intruder in the front. 1 slash, 2 slashes, 3 slashes, the dense grass that was filled with the smell of grass was suddenly filled with the thick smell of blood. The invader who had been alive and kicking just a moment ago was now lying on the ground silently. In this place, except for their own people, all living creatures with attacking power were regarded as enemies. At this moment, in their eyes, these intruders were the same as all kinds of prey they had encountered when they were hunting in the forest. Although these intruders looked like them, the chief had said that all non-members of the tribe were the same. Of course, allies were different. Kiki didn't feel any pressure at all. Sometimes, Xiaofan only felt that these people's thoughts were unbelievably simple. For many people, things that were difficult to adapt to were not a problem for them at all. After killing 2 intruders, Kiki ran away and continued to search for other intruders hiding in other places. Tuo was so angry that he chased after Kiki because his prey was robbed. He also wanted to rob Kiki's prey. How many prey they had hunted was to be reported afterwards. The chief had said that they would be rewarded according to their merits. Their team was in charge of this area and didn't say where they had to guard. Therefore, they only needed to find those intruders in this area and kill them. Xiaofan didn't follow them, but continued to walk forward. As he approached the edge of the area they were in charge of, he ran into Mao, who was running towards him. Behind Mao, there were 3 people who were chasing after him. Judging from the weapons in their hands, they were all from the drumming tribe. Mao, who was running, suddenly turned around and chopped at the man who was chasing him the most. The man reacted quickly and blocked it with the weapon in his hand. Mao's knife had been chipped a lot because of several slashes. This time, the strong chop directly broke the knife from the middle. Mao threw the broken knife in his hand, and half of the knife pierced into the throat of the man who was chasing him. Mao didn't stop, but pulled out another stone knife from his waist. Looking at the 2 people who were chasing him, he bent his knees and bounced to the side, running towards them. Mao saw Xiaofan, but he felt that he had the ability to deal with him. What he was doing now was to tell Xiaofan not to interfere, and he would deal with it himself. Otherwise, if he felt that he couldn't handle it, he would run towards Xiaofan instead of away. Xiaofan wasn't worried. With Mao's current strength as an intermediate totem warrior, it would be difficult for him to fight against 3 people by himself. After all, they were also intermediate totem warriors. The Yanjiao tribesmen didn't seem to be easy to deal with. Instead, they ran away. It was just like encountering a fierce beast when hunting. If they couldn't beat it, they would run away. After running away, they would look for a chance to stab back, or even give a fatal blow. There was no doubt that the warriors of the Yanjiao tribe were calmer than the people of the drumming tribe. Their calmness made the people of the drumming tribe feel scared. When the people of the drumming tribe encountered similar situations, most of them would say, "I'm not afraid of you. Fight." This was because their eyes were red from killing, and their emotions were out of control. And the people of the Flaming Horns tribe, just like Mao, ran away first. When the pursuers thought that he was going to escape to a safer place or look for his companions, they found that he turned around and slashed his blade, killing the pursuers one by one. They could always find the best chance to attack when others thought they were crazy and lost their minds. However, the people of the drumming tribe, and the drumming tribe didn't know that when the people of the Yanjiao tribe were hunting in the forest, the more dangerous the situation was, the more frequently they would use their killing moves. If the people of the Yanjiao tribe didn't have a calm mind at that time, they would have died long ago. They didn't expect to be smart or flexible. They only needed to keep calm in the short time when the situation was critical. In this way, even if they couldn't kill, they could choose to escape unscathed. As Xiaofan expected, Mao killed the pursuers very calmly. One strike, another strike, another strike. After that, there were several more wounds on Mao's body. But he didn't care. After applying some medicine, he ran to where his grandfather was. On Ao's side. After several unsuccessful attacks, Ji found that the people he was facing were very difficult to deal with. Facing Ao, it was like facing a towering ancient mountain. Standing in front of such a mountain, Ji suddenly felt that he was a little small. Ao's attack came without any warning. Just a moment ago, he was still walking slowly, as if he had left the battlefield and did not want to be a spectator. However, the next moment, he took a step forward like lightning. Under the stimulation of the totem power that had soared to the peak and the momentum of this step, he waved his arm like the long spear that had been thrown out just now. With the momentum of this step, he rushed towards Ao with a strong and fierce momentum that could break through everything. When Mao arrived, he just saw a figure being hit by his grandfather. Not paying attention to the figure that flew out, Mao looked around and found no other dangerous people. Then he went to Ao's side. "Grandpa, should we let them out?" Mao glanced at Ao, and then quickly looked at the direction of the ship. Ao was silent for 2 seconds, listening carefully to the movements around, and then said, "Well, let them out to stretch their legs." Ao used this battle as the first training ground and the first whetstone for the Yanjiao tribe. Looking at the current situation, it was totally unnecessary to let those guys out. But, it had been a while, and there were people outside the drumming tribe who were ready to make trouble, so it was better to end the battle quickly. With Ao's permission, Mao's eyes flashed with joy. He didn't stay any longer, and hurried away to let Ao continue. Looking at the man who was hit and was about to get up and run away, Ao frowned and clenched his fists. He was really tough. Ji just wanted to leave as soon as possible. The people of the Yanjiao tribe had a keen sense of danger, a fierce and decisive attack, and a savage and ferocious killing intent, which shocked him very much. Where the hell did this tribe come from? Ji was extremely horrified. And what did the young man say just now? Let them out. Who were they? The ominous feeling in Ji's heart grew stronger and stronger. Perhaps, this operation was not as simple as he thought. Instead, it was carried out in a way that made them fearful. Mao, who ran out from Ao's side, avoided the sneak attack of the invaders. At this moment, he didn't want to fight, but picked up the leather whistle and blew it with a specific rhythm. Mor, Yang Guang and his sister, and Lei, who were participating in the defense battle everywhere, had excitement in their eyes. Ignoring the wounds on their bodies, they avoided the blades of the invaders and ran away. While running, they blew their own leather whistles. For a moment, there were all kinds of whistles in several places where the Yanjiao tribe was responsible for defense. The sound of the leather whistle made by each person was slightly different from that of the wooden whistle, but the sound of each tamer's whistle was well known by those ferocious beasts with engravings. Several ferocious beasts, who were ordered to stay around the fleet, were pawing the ground and kicking their hooves out of boredom. Hearing the whistles, they sped up and ran towards their tamers. Chapter 235. Hearing Mao's whistle, Xiaofan knew that Ao had decided to let those guys out. However, Caesar was not among them. Xiaofan did not ask Caesar to come over. He asked Caesar to stay on the ship to protect Old Ku and the others. They also needed to be on guard. After all, the elderly, the children, and the women who had not awakened their totemic powers were all there, not to mention the shaman and the fire seed. After Mao blew the whistle, he was targeted by 2 more intruders. But this time, Mao did not kill them immediately. Instead, he led the 2 tails in circles. After a few circles, there were 3 tails. Suddenly, Mao stopped and stood there, looking back at the 3 tails who were chasing him. Because of Mao's sudden stop, the 3 people who were chasing him also stopped 10 steps away from him. The 3 of them targeted Mao because he was young. Such a young warrior should be easier to deal with, so they avoided those fierce-looking middle-aged warriors and chose this younger one. However, why was this young warrior not nervous at all when surrounded by the 3 of them, and there was no fear in his eyes? Was it a trick? The 3 of them were suspicious. Then they sneered in their hearts. What could such a young warrior do? Just when the three of them were about to rush over, they suddenly heard a sound and the ground was shaking. Dong, 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 the sound was getting closer and closer, and the shaking of the ground was getting more and more obvious, indicating that a heavy object was approaching. What on earth was it? The three of them turned around and saw a tall figure running towards them from afar. The figure barged through the obstacles in front of him in a barbaric manner. Because of the speed of his running, the fats on his body were jiggling. Such a fast running speed was totally incompatible with the fat on his body. It was like a chariot rushing over at high speed. What was that? The three of them were frightened. A wild boar without hair? No matter what it was not easy to deal with. Spread out. The three of them scattered in three directions. However, they underestimated the speed of Xia's change of direction. Bang! 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 3 consecutive collisions. Because of the sudden change of direction, the grass and soil were kicked up and splashed everywhere. When the grass and soil fell down, the 3 people who were planning to deal with Mao just now were nowhere to be seen. Only some splashed blood on the ground remained. After sending the 3 invaders flying, Xia was very excited. From the moment they left the tribe until just now, their hands and feet were tied. They were either locked on the ship or ordered to stay near the fleet. They were not allowed to run around at all. When they heard that there was a battle going on in the tribe, their hooves were itching and their claws were even more itchy. Looking at Xia, who was jumping happily, Mao grinned and jumped on Xia's back, waving his saber in high spirits. Let's go. Go and take the credit. Don't let others take it. Humph, Xia made a sound, which was a response to Mao's words. In another place, a warrior with a stone saber in his hand was running. He was a member of the drumming tribe. His original weapon was broken, and the stone saber he was holding now was actually picked up from a warrior of the drumming tribe who had been cut down by him. His injuries were quite serious. His waist and abdomen had been pierced by a sharp knife. Blood dripped down as he ran. The wound did not stop bleeding. From where he was injured to where he was now, there were bloodstains everywhere he went. He knew that he would not be able to get out alive this time, but he did not want to stay here peacefully. If he could kill a few more people, if he could get a few more water moon stones, it would be good to die with them. The more he thought about it, the more vicious his eyes became. They were filled with determination and madness. Killing one more would be good, but who should he kill? As he ran, he searched the surrounding bushes and grass, trying to find the one who had stabbed him. A chill suddenly rose from his spine. His movement slowed down, and his feet kicked a raised piece of soil. He staggered and fell down. When he was about to get up, he glanced at a figure coming over. That warrior looked very young. The blood and pain of the wound stimulated his brain, and his mouth raised a cruel smile. Just right, he liked to kill these young warriors in the tribe. However, before he got up, he found that the young warrior stopped not far away, and no longer approached. He just stood there, as if he was waiting to see something. What was he looking at? Rustle, rustle, there were footsteps approaching. It was very close, almost next to him. Before that, he did not hear any movement at all. Under the moonlight, a shadow was cast on the ground. The approaching black shadow almost covered his whole body. Crisis, an extreme sense of crisis, dispelled the crazy thoughts in his mind. He felt that all the hair on his body stood up, and his teeth were uncontrollably clenched. He turned his neck stiffly and looked behind him. A big hairy claw appeared in his vision. Warm blood with the smell of blood sprayed above his head. He looked up little by little, and finally, he saw the owner of the shadow. Cave lion? Why was there a cave lion here? A beast? No, it was not. A beast would not have such a strong power. This was a ferocious beast? Without waiting for him to think more, the the sharp fangs in the bloody mouth bit him. He had no power to resist. Ah! In the forest under the moonlight, a shrill scream rang out, startling the invaders who were hiding in other places and causing them to tremble. This was not a scream of being cut by a knife. What on earth had happened to it? Similar things happened everywhere in the area of the drumming tribe. At this moment, not long after those engraved beasts left, at the place where the Yanjiao tribe's fleet stopped, a figure quickly rushed out of the woods, like a ghost, almost without any sound. The beasts around the fleet had run away, so at this moment, there were no ferocious beasts guarding the bank of the tributary where the fleet stopped. This invasion was much more difficult than before. As one of the best at hiding in the drumming tribe, he was one of the few who could smoothly break through the defense line. Originally, he wanted to go directly to the water moon channel of the drumming tribe to grab the water moonstones. However, after seeing the ships on this tributary, he came over. Looking at the big ships in front of him, the man was surprised and doubtful. Were these really not from the longboat tribe? Why were these ships so big? Except for the longboat tribe and those tribes who spent a lot of things to exchange for ships with the longboat tribe, who else could build these ships? After careful observation, he found that the trees used to build ships should be huge, so big that he had never seen them before. Even the chief of the drumming tribe should not have seen such a big tree, right? So, where did the people who owned these ships come from? However, this question did not stay in his mind for long. He thought that since there were such big ships, there must be more good things in them. Maybe there were fire crystals? A look of greed flashed across his face. Because there were warriors staring at him, he decided to go through the water. At this time, the crocodiles of the drumming tribe had left. In his impression, the water was safe at this time. In order to invade the drumming tribe, the people of the drumming tribe had trained themselves well in the water, so it was not difficult for him to go through the water. He went into the water from another place, intending to get close to the biggest ship. In the biggest ship, there must be the most valuable things. Quietly entering the water, he swam towards the fleet from under the water. But as he swam, he found that the water around him was moving. It was not caused by him. What was it? Before he turned back, a big hook-like mouth bit over, clamped his waist, and then the big mouth closed. Blood spread out from under the water. The warriors standing on the ship looked at the dark liquid coming out of the water, as well as the swaying water waves, and moved their eyes to other places expressionlessly, looking for any possible intruders. As for the water, it was better to leave it to the turtle. At the water moon channel, the children of the drumming tribe were seizing the time to get the water moonstones, while the adults looked at them with tense nerves, in case someone suddenly appeared to rob them. But the strange thing was, until now, they had not seen a single intruder. Just now, they heard a scream from not far away, but other than that, they only heard the sound and did not see anyone. In the forest, the battle was still going on. Roar, a beast roar came from the forest. Before the others could think about what it was, another beast roar came. It was different from the previous one, and they could hear that it was made by two different beasts. Two beasts? The hidden people thought. But this was not the end. Then, there was another roar, and another. The forest was trembling. Like a report, the roars came one after another, and they all belonged to different beasts. At this time, standing not far from the drumming tribe, the people who were planning to follow the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe to take advantage of the situation, stopped abruptly. The leader was a little fat. When he heard the beastly roars that penetrated the forest one after another, the fat on his face twitched continuously. His fingers that were holding the knife turned white, and the corners of his lips twitched violently due to nervousness. It was as if someone was slapping his face from the side. Before, they only heard that the drumming tribe had helpers, and did not care at all. But now, they had to care. "Leader, are we still going in?" A warrior behind him asked in a trembling voice. Something seems wrong, the leader said in a low voice. Although he did not enter the territory of the drumming tribe to see it with his own eyes, he knew that the two tribes who wanted to rob the water moonstones were in trouble. It was not that he did not think that the drumming tribe would turn the tables and resist the joint attack of the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe. He had heard of some similar unexpected things before, but this kind of thing really happened to him, and he could not calm down in a short time. "Leader, look, there is a bird over there," a warrior said to the leader. A group of people looked over. On a high tree not far away, there was a white bird resting. To be exact, it was a falcon, about the same size as Xi's crown kite. They had never seen such a white falcon, and it did not look like a wild one. "What is that? Is it the bird that the drumming tribe exchanged from the feather tribe?" Chapter 236. Many of these birds were used to scout the situation. Therefore, when these people saw this bird, the first thing they thought of was naturally the feather tribe's domesticated birds. "Did it tell the drumming tribe about our actions?" a warrior asked worriedly. They were more afraid of death than the drumming tribe. They didn't want to lose their lives before they could get anything. The leader cursed fiercely, venting the anxiety and dissatisfaction in his heart. "Give me the bow." Taking the bow from his subordinate, the leader pulled the bow into a full moon and stared at the white bird resting on the tree as if it was sleeping. His eyes were full of hatred. Whoosh! The bowstring vibrated. The arrow flew at high speed, making a sharp whistling sound due to the friction with the air. The leaves in front of the arrow were pierced and fell from the branches. Tut! The arrow was nailed into a tree branch, the tail of the arrow was still shaking. However, that was not the target he wanted to shoot. He thought the arrow would definitely hit the target, but it hit nothing. The bird that was standing there just now was gone. Where's the bird? The leader suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. There was something wrong with the drumming tribe. It was definitely not as simple as they thought. Could it be that the people from the central region were involved? On the surface, the tribes from the central region did not say that they would attack the drumming tribe, but who knew if they would do something secretly? Even if it wasn't the big tribes from the central region, if the other tribes from the central region attacked, they would still have to be careful. That bird, maybe it was brought by one of the central tribes? And the roar just now, maybe it was related to the people from the central region? Although he didn't know what happened in the drumming tribe, he was now sure that this was not something they could get involved in. "Retreat!" The leader threw the bow and shouted. But it was too late. A white shadow flashed by. The leader only felt a chill on his scalp. Something flew over his head. He didn't feel any pain. Only the blood that flowed out blocked his vision. "Leader! Leader!" Seeing their boss fall down with a piece of his head missing, everyone panicked and shouted as they scattered in all directions. Fear pervaded the forest, both inside and outside of the forest. The white bird shook off the blood and flesh on its claws and continued to find a tree to rest. It did not like to move at night and was chased out by Gigu to have a good night's sleep. However, it did not expect to be attacked. It was brought out of the green land by Gigu and was successfully branded by the shaman of the Yanjiao tribe. It would not attack the people of the Yanjiao tribe, but it would not treat the people of other tribes well. Just as he was about to continue resting, a figure suddenly flew across the sky. The white bird looked at the cha-cha flying above it, then retracted its gaze and continued to rest. Within the drumming tribe. This invasion was nearing its end. It was shorter than any previous invasion the drumming tribe had encountered. All the water moon stones in the water moon passage had been scooped up, and the water gradually became murky. This time, the drumming tribe's harvest was huge. They produced more water moonstones than ever before. The adults protected the children and hurried home. Different from the joy of the drumming tribe's harvest, the invaders, who were still hiding in the forest and could not sneak in or evacuate, were shrouded in the shadow of death. Ao dragged a man and walked towards the center of the drumming tribe. Ha, ha 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 ha. Ji, who was carried by Ao, laughed so hard that his face was distorted, as if he had gone crazy. They had planned to make a lot of money this time, but unexpectedly, none of the people of the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe could leave safely this time. The Yanjiao tribe was so powerful. Why had they never heard of it? Ji was puzzled. If he had only seen the battle of the Yanjiao tribe once, he would not have refused the decision to send 1,000 more people to the tribe. Unfortunately, this Yanjiao seemed to appear out of nowhere and gave the invaders a painful and unforgettable lesson with extremely fierce means. Ji had lost his ability to move now. He knew clearly what would happen if he was caught. The people of the drumming tribe hated him to the core. He controlled the totem power in his body, concentrated it in his heart, and then attacked. Puff! Blood spurted out from Ji's mouth, and he lost his breath. Ao lowered his head and looked at the dead man. His face did not change, and he did not stop walking. He continued to drag the man to the drumming tribe. If he gave this man to the drumming tribe, he might be able to exchange for more things. As for whether this man was alive or dead, it did not matter. Ao really had no feelings for people outside the tribe. Xiaofan and the others were busy cleaning up. Suddenly, they heard an eagle cry in the sky, and then something was thrown down. The creature that fell on the ground flapped its wings twice, but its wings were injured, so it could not fly. If the people of the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe were here, they would definitely recognize that it was the crown kite that Ku had bought from the feather tribe at a high price. It was the one that had gone on strike before, but now it was caught by Cha-Cha. At this time, it was no longer arrogant and mighty. It shrank like a quail. What kind of bird is this? It looks delicious. More food tonight? Kiki and the others gathered around. Xiaofan picked up the kite, looked at it, and said, "Not now." Hearing that they couldn't eat it, Kiki and the others lost interest and continued to look for the hidden intruders. Xiaofan knew that Cha-Cha must have something to do with the invaders. He would bring the bird to the people of the drumming tribe to see if they could get any useful information. If it was useless, then it would be an extra meal. The crown kite, which was bought by the people of the central region at a high price, was listed as food by the people of the Yanjiao tribe. When the sun rose the next day, the drumming tribe had already been cleaned up 3 times. Everything that needed to be cleaned had been cleared. It's over, it's over. The people of the drumming tribe could not believe it. They were still in a trance. They thought it would be a fierce defensive battle. They wanted to delay until the crocodiles came back. However, it turned out that they had underestimated this Yanjiao tribe. Although there were losses and casualties this time, it was much better than the disastrous situation they had expected. The Yanjiao tribe also suffered casualties this time. They lost 2 warriors, and several were seriously injured. However, this situation was just like going out to hunt. It was all part of their plan. They held a funeral for the dead and watched as their bones were swallowed by the fire seed's flame. The tribe would not let the dead warriors be buried in the wilderness. Instead, they would burn them in the fire seed's flame according to the old method. The shaman said that in this way, the souls of the warriors would be integrated into the fire seed and return to their homeland with everyone. In order to thank the Yanjiao tribe for their help, the chief and shaman of the drumming tribe gave them 10 baskets of water moonstones. These were all gifts from other families, and they were the biggest and brightest. The baskets used to hold the water moonstones were several times bigger than the baskets used by Chen Jia and the others. Ao accepted all of them without hesitation, including many pottery. Although there were already people in the tribe who could make their own pottery after coming here, the people of the Flaming Horns tribe still cherished these things that they didn't have before. After a battle, they had to rest for a few days. The Yanjiao tribe stayed in the drumming tribe for a few more days. During these days, they encountered some trouble. The returning crocodiles were very wary of the few fierce beasts. They often surrounded the fleet in groups. If they were not stopped, they would have gone down to fight. Among them, the snapping turtle was the most special one. Perhaps because it used to live in the same river, it could get along with the crocodiles peacefully. When everyone calms down, let's leave. Ao said. Okay, where are we going after this? The shaman asked. No one spoke. After a while, the shaman called out to Xiaofan, who was talking to a crocodile below. Xian. Xiaofan, who was talking to the black-eyed, mute crocodile, raised his head. He knew that the shaman had something to discuss, so he patted the crocodile's rough head. Go play by yourself, I still have things to do. Then Xiaofan was about to leave, but the crocodile bit the corner of his trousers. The mute even rolled a few times. Different from the death roll when tearing up food, this time the crocodile rolled more gently. What's wrong? Xiaofan looked at the crocodile shamelessly in the water. After a few more rolls like this, his trousers would be completely ruined. Letting go of Xiaofan's trousers, the crocodile looked at Xiaofan, and then swam to the deeper part of the river. Xiaofan got on the boat and discussed the next route with the shaman. After the discussion, when he got off the boat, he was blocked by the mute black crocodile again. This time, it did not bite Xiaofan's trousers, but opened its mouth to Xiaofan. Is it stuck in your teeth? Xiaofan was not afraid that the crocodile would bite him directly. Under the nervous gazes of Kiki and the others, he calmly approached the crocodile to have a look. There was no meat, but there was a bowl-sized stone. The muddy gray stone was the same as the stones at the bottom of the rivers in the drumming tribe. It seemed to be a very common stone, nothing special, and its shape was also irregular. A stone? Xiaofan was confused. It's a gift for you. Fu Shi, who came here under the orders of the chief, smiled. A gift for me? Xiaofan did not understand the customs here. Treasure fish will give gifts to people who help them, and the gifts are the stones they bring back. You know, treasure fish leave every year during the rainy season, and come back when the river rises after the full moon. I heard from the shaman that when they come back, they will also bring back some stones and spit them at the bottom of the water-moon canal. And some of these stones will become water-moon stones in the future. If someone in the tribe gets a stone from the treasure fish, they will put it in their own section of the water-moon canal. When the full moon comes, the stone will become a water-moon stone. Fu Shi told Xiaofan everything he knew. Xiaofan took the stone out of the crocodile's mouth. This stone will become a water-moon stone? I heard that as long as it is placed in the water-moon canal, it will become a water-moon stone. Fu Shi said. In other words, to become a water-moon stone, this stone must be placed in the water-moon canal of the drumming tribe. Moreover, the success rate was not 100%, and there was no definite time. However, Xiaofan did not insist on turning this stone into a water-moon stone. He was still very happy about this special gift. The year you left, it left with the group for the first time. When it came back, you also went back to the tribe. Fu Shi said, so this time, it finally saw you again, so it wanted to make up for the gift. Thank you. I will keep it well. Xiaofan said. Chapter 237. Putting the stone into the animal skin bag, Xiaofan looked at Fu Shi and asked, what's the matter? Oh, yes, there's something. When he saw Baoyu give the stone to someone, he was so focused on that he almost forgot about the chief's order. Because the crisis of the drumming tribe had been resolved, there wouldn't be any big changes for at least a year. Hearing that the Yanjiao tribe would leave in a few days, the chief Fan Mu planned to invite several important people of the Yanjiao tribe to a banquet. This was the custom of the drumming tribe. For important guests, they would take out the best food to show their gratitude. However, there were too many people in the Yanjiao tribe, so they couldn't invite all of them. Therefore, they only invited the senior leaders of the Yanjiao tribe and the warriors who had played an important role in this incident. As for the others, although they couldn't go with them, they would send some food. Xiao Xian took Fu Shi to see Ao and the shaman. They also agreed to go to the central area of the drumming tribe that night. The reason why the banquet was held at night instead of during the day was that Fan Mu wanted to use the water moon stone to show his respect. In the evening, Ao selected 50 people to go with the shaman. Xiao Xian was among them. Probably in order to take care of the Yanjiao tribe, there were many water moon stones as light sources from the fleet to the place where the banquet would be held, so that the people of the Yanjiao tribe could see the surroundings clearly. At this time, the moonlight was enough, and the light of the water moon stones was not inferior to the moonlight. Walking in the forest, Xiao Xian felt like he had turned on a street lamp. There was an open space in front of Fan Mu's house. There were big fires on the ground. Food was being roasted on the fire, and soup was boiling in a big pot. Water moon stones were piled on the wooden pillars around, illuminating the surroundings. It was a very simple banquet, but it was considered grand here. The warriors of the Yanjiao tribe didn't mind such a banquet. When they were in the tribe, they would sit in a circle around the fire, roast food, and chat. Naturally, they wouldn't feel uncomfortable. At this dinner, in addition to expressing his gratitude, Fan Mu also asked the Flaming Horns tribe if they needed to go to the Pu tribe to trade. Every year, shortly after the Water Moon Festival, the drumming tribe would send a trading team to the Pu tribe to trade for something. When the Yanjiao warriors heard that they could go to other tribes to see the trade, their eyes lit up as they looked at Ao, hoping that Ao would agree. Ao was silent for a few seconds as he chewed on the meat. Then, he said, "There's no need for all of them to go. Just 10 of them will do." As he spoke, Ao picked 10 people on the spot, including Xiao Xian. After all, Xiao Xian was familiar with the situation there. Ao felt more assured with him around. "Chief, me too." Kiki, who was not named, hurriedly reminded him. Ao glanced at him and said nothing. He always felt that this guy was unreliable. Kiki did make a lot of contributions in this defense battle. The number of prey he reported was in the top 5. The people of the Yanjiao tribe wouldn't lie about the number of their prey. They didn't dare to. In his mind, when facing the chief, shaman, and team leaders, there was no such thing as lying or false, unless one didn't know how to count. Generally speaking, the number of prey reported was true and trustworthy. Kiki had made such a great contribution to himself, but he was not allowed to trade with them. He felt a little sad. When the banquet ended and the people of the Yanjiao tribe returned, Kiki was still pestering Ao, trying to persuade him to agree. Before leaving, Xiao Xian was one step behind Ao and the others. He asked Qing Yi, the leader of the trading team of the drumming tribe, about the current situation of the Pu tribe. When Xiao Xian finished his inquiry and left, Ao and the others had already returned to their resting places and were ready to sleep. Xiao Xian walked alone in the forest. The water moonstones around him hadn't been put away yet. They were lined up on one side like street lamps, and the shadows of the branches swayed on the ground. Looking up, Xiao Xian looked at the night sky. 2 moons had begun to fade, hanging in the dark sky. There were no stars around. There were no electric lights, no pollution, no mechanical tools, and no comfortable hotels. What he breathed in was a slightly moist air with the smell of the forest. What he could see was endless nature. The night wind blew, and the leaves on the trees around him rustled. Xiao Xian could clearly feel the changes in the airflow when the wind hit the trees. Closing his eyes without sight, Xiao Xian's other senses became more sensitive. He could hear the friction between the leaves, the laughter of the drumming tribe people in the distance, and the sound of crocodiles swimming in the pool. The changes in the wind speed, the direction of the airflow, and his sensitive senses allowed Xiaofan to distinguish the trees around him, and where there were obstacles. He didn't need to see to know where the way out was. He lifted his foot, 1 step, 2 steps, he avoided the tree trunks, bypassed the bushes, and stepped over the protruding soil on the ground. Xiaofan walked faster and faster, smoother and smoother. Everything around him had already formed a three-dimensional picture in his mind. From this picture, he could accurately determine where the obstacles were. He even had a feeling that if he wanted, as long as he had enough time, he could even count how many branches were as thick as an arm on the 10-meter-tall tree next to him. He could even count the number of leaves on each branch. He could do it. This feeling was getting clearer and clearer. Maintaining this state, Xiaofan slowly blended into the natural forest. In this unfamiliar forest, he closed his eyes and walked freely. As he walked, Xiaofan noticed that on the three-dimensional picture formed in his mind, there were light spots. Most of them were slightly further away from him. Those moving light spots were faintly white, similar to the water moonstones. Were those people from the drumming tribe? Feeling carefully, Xiaofan could vaguely feel some familiarity. Fu Shi, Qing Yi, Fan Mu, and some others. Some of them were at the place where the banquet was held, and some were patrolling in the forest. There was only one exception. In front of him, there was a moving light spot, coming this way. This light spot was not like the white of the drumming tribe, but an inconspicuous gray. If one was not careful, it would be easy to miss this light spot. Not from the drumming tribe? Very strange. Naturally, it was not from the Yanjiao tribe. Then, who was it? Xiaofan opened his eyes and looked forward. There was almost no sound of footsteps, but the other party was approaching. Xiaofan stood in the same place, holding the hilt of his knife, quietly looking over there. Probably because he had discovered Xiaofan, the other party no longer hid his movements. His footsteps gradually became louder, but he also controlled the sound and rhythm, just like the speed and sound of the patrolling members of the drumming tribe. A strong figure came out. Looking at the figure, it was similar to many of the warriors of the drumming tribe, and also dressed like them. Are you from the Yanjiao tribe? The other party's rough voice was casual and familiar, just like the other members of the drumming tribe treated the Yanjiao tribesmen. As the other party slowly approached, Xiaofan also saw his face clearly. It was a very standard appearance of the drumming tribe. Are you from the patrol team? What's your name? Xiaofan asked. The other party smiled, seeming a little embarrassed to speak. I'm just, lazy, so I came out for a walk. The other party said, but his words slowly slowed down. Finally, he stopped before he finished his sentence. So sharp. The other party looked at the knife in Xiaofan's hand, and then looked at Xiaofan's defensive posture without any suspicion. He also understood that he had been recognized, so he no longer wasted time making up excuses. Even the tone of his voice changed. Actually, I'm just here to watch the fun, he said. It was impossible to tell his age or gender from his voice. Crack, 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 with the soft sound of bones cracking, Xiaofan noticed that the other party's figure was changing. He had gone from being tall and strong to being thin, as if he had been deflated. His face was also changing, no longer looking like a member of the drumming tribe. Bang! There was a muffled sound like a wooden stake falling to the ground. The other party suddenly stomped on the ground. His legs, which had become as thin as firewood, seemed to have the strength of steel. The shock waves caused by the powerful force shot out from where his feet touched. The weeds on the ground were violently torn apart, breaking into tiny pieces. The slightly dry and hard pieces of soil between the weeds were instantly pulverized into dust. The other party stomped on the ground and rushed straight at Xiaofan. His entire leg was like a Cold War knife, drawing an arc in the air, bringing with it a strong force that cut through the air towards Xiaofan. Xiaofan did not intend to take this kick head-on. Instead, he chose to retreat and avoid it. After missing the kick, the other party did not stop. Like a poisonous snake, he stomped on the ground and bounced up again, as if he was going to attack again. However, to Xiaofan's surprise, after this stomp, the other party's figure disappeared from where he was. He did not hide, he really ran away. Xiaofan was speechless. From the moment the other party was exposed, he had only taken 2 steps. In the first step, he kicked towards Xiaofan. His momentum was as fierce as the claws of a beast, the fangs of a poisonous snake, as if he wanted to fight to the death with Xiaofan. However, in the second step, he suddenly changed his style and ran away like a bolt of lightning. Xiaofan did not chase after him. The other party's actions were strange and he ran away quickly. It would not be easy for him to catch him. Moreover, the other party was not weak. Furthermore, that person gave Xiaofan a feeling that he did not have any murderous intent. Even when he kicked out, it was just power, but there was no real murderous intent. He just opened his mouth and revealed his sharp teeth and claws, scaring people into retreating immediately. Xiaofan looked in the direction of the other party's disappearance, wondering who he was. When he was in the drumming tribe, he also met people who were good at disguising and hiding, but they were not from the drumming tribe. Was this the robber that the people of the drumming tribe once talked about? His purpose was to steal the water moonstones? But it should not be. There were so many along the way, and none of them were missing. So, as he said, he was just here to watch the fun. Encountering a suspicious person, Xiaofan naturally would not hide it. He took out the wooden whistle and blew it. The patrolling members of the drumming tribe, who were closest to him, came over. On the Fanmu tribe side, people who had not left heard the whistle and also came over to Xiaofan. They did not understand the whistle of the Yanjiao tribe, but they knew that if it was a small matter, Xiaofan would not blow the whistle. Not only the people of the drumming tribe, but also the people of the Yanjiao tribe who had just returned to their temporary residence, immediately got up. However, they did not go to Xiaofan, but vigilantly looked around. They knew what Xiaofan meant from the whistle. They just needed to be vigilant. There was no need to go over. Chapter 238. Xiaofan told the drumming tribe about his encounter with the strange man. After the people of the drumming tribe carefully inspected their territory, they hurriedly counted their own water moon stones to see if they had lost any. This had happened many times in the past. They thought that the strange man must be a robber, but after checking, they didn't find any missing water moonstones, so they were relieved. Every year, some water moonstones were stolen, but they couldn't catch the culprit. They could only guess, but other than the robbers, they couldn't think of anyone else. The robbers were a very special tribe. The members of the tribe were relatively independent and didn't live together all year round. This tribe was very mysterious. The drumming tribe had limited information, so Xiaofan couldn't get more information from them. It wasn't stolen. This time, it shouldn't be a robber, right? Fu Shi's wife Ping said. I'm not sure. No one knows who he is. We can't find him. Fu Shi sighed. After the discussion, they found that no one's water moonstones were stolen this year, so they went back. Xiaofan didn't stay too long either. After the drumming tribe people left, he also left. He found that the shaman of the drumming tribe didn't look too good, but since he didn't say anything, Xiaofan couldn't force him to tell. He just guessed that if it was really a robber, they must have stolen something. This time, no one else's water moonstones were stolen. Could it be that the shaman's water moonstones were stolen? Xiaofan didn't know, but he guessed right. After the drumming tribe people left, the shaman of the drumming tribe called the chief over for a private conversation. This year's water moonstone was stolen. The shaman of the drumming tribe said with a cold face as he looked at the empty box. Every year, after the water moonstones were harvested, they would pick out the biggest one and give it to the shaman to judge. Then they would choose the biggest and brightest one with the best quality. It was also called the Water Moon King Stone by the people of the drumming tribe. This stone would not be taken out for trade. Instead, it was kept by the shaman as one of the offerings during the ceremony. But now, the king's stone was lost. The shaman's house was heavily guarded. Even the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe couldn't sneak in and steal the king's stone. Sure enough, it's a robber. However, the robber who came this time is ranked higher, Fan Mu said helplessly. If Xiaofan hadn't told them about the abnormality today, perhaps they wouldn't have realized that the Water Moon King stone was missing until the ceremony. Choose another one in secret, the shaman said. In the past, the stolen Water Moon stones could not be recovered. Now that there was a higher grade one, it was even more difficult. Perhaps the other party had already left the drumming tribe. That's the only way. At the same time, a figure escaped the search of the drumming tribe and left the area. After leaving the territory of the drumming tribe, they ran for a while before sitting down on a stone at the foot of the mountain. What? Have we been discovered? A surprised voice came from behind him. Judging from the voice, it was a woman, but her age couldn't be determined. The man sitting on the stone didn't turn his head and continued to beat his legs. Don't mention it. I met a strange guy from the Yanjiao tribe. He recognized me at a glance and almost attacked me. Fortunately, I ran fast enough. If we really fought, I would have been delayed by him. When the Yanjiao tribe arrived, I wouldn't have been able to get away. The Yanjiao tribe again? I've never heard of them before. They suddenly appeared, and their strength is not weak. Although they can't be compared with the big tribes in the central region, they can't be underestimated. What's more, they have several ferocious beasts, the woman said in surprise. After a pause, she asked, "Did you get it?" The man sitting on the stone took out a leather bag from his animal skin coat and took out a shining stone. It was like a high-wattage light bulb, illuminating the surroundings instantly. This was the Water Moon King stone stolen from the drumming tribe. I originally wanted to go to the Yanjiao tribe's ship to have a look. Maybe there are many good things. What a pity. The man sitting on the stone said regretfully as he beat his legs. This Yanjiao tribe is interesting. Should we follow them? The woman said with interest. That's fine, but we have to stay away. The previous method didn't work. I have a feeling that it might work in other tribes, but not in this tribe. As far as I know, a few idiots have already started to act according to the old method. The woman's voice had a hint of ridicule. Oh, then let's wait and see how they die. At least they can make room for the people behind them, the man sitting on the stone said lightly. The Yanjiao tribesmen didn't know that they were being watched. Even if they knew, they wouldn't be afraid. In the next 2 days, Xiaofan took 10 people from the Yanjiao tribe and went to the Pu tribe with the trading team of the drumming tribe. They exchanged a lot of things with Xiao. Even if they didn't need them, others in the tribe might need them. After coaxing and pestering, Ao finally agreed. Kiki also followed them to the Pu tribe. For him, things that were rare in other people's eyes were not at all attractive to him, except for those fat frogs that jumped everywhere. If he hadn't promised Ao that he would listen to Xiaofan's words and not touch the frogs of the Pu tribe, he might have secretly taken away some of the fat frogs of the Pu tribe and eaten them. Now, the surrounding tribes all knew that in order to deal with the crisis, the drumming tribe had found help from a tribe called Yanjiao. It wasn't a famous tribe. However, this time, the people sent by the drumming tribe and the drumming tribe were almost completely wiped out. Even a bird didn't come back. Therefore, when they saw the Yanjiao tribesmen who came with the drumming tribe, everyone was curious. However, the Yanjiao tribesmen didn't feel that they were being watched at all. They just did what they should do and asked questions whenever they had doubts. Gradually, they became familiar with this kind of trading. The chief said that they would also need this kind of trading in the future, so they had to master it. In addition to the frog poison and other things from Xiao Xian also exchanged some fishing nets from the Luo tribe, who arrived at the Pu tribe on the same day as them. When they sailed, they could catch some fish. Here, unlike in the hunting forest, they could get whatever they wanted on the spot. In a place dominated by human tribes, they had to exchange a lot of resources and store them in their hands. They could use them whenever they needed, which saved more time. After returning from the Pu tribe, the Yanjiao tribe was ready to set off again. When they left, many people of the drumming tribe came to see them off, led by Fan Mu and the shaman of the drumming tribe. In addition to people, there were also groups of crocodiles. Those crocodiles probably came together to cheer. After all, the ferocious beasts that troubled them had finally left. There are some smaller groups of tribes ahead. They may shoot arrows to harass us. Be careful. Xiaofan said. The warriors of the Yanjiao tribe standing outside the cabin were all holding wooden and stone shields to defend against the arrows. However, when the boat sailed past, they didn't see any arrows. Xiaofan thought about the reason and suddenly felt like laughing. He remembered a joke from a friend in his previous life. You used to drive a shabby car and you dared to crash. Now that you have a luxury car, you don't dare to crash. When Xiaofan was on a raft, he was constantly harassed by arrows. Now he was on a boat, but he didn't see any arrows. The people hiding behind the trees on both sides of the river didn't take any action. They weren't stupid. They knew who they could mess with and who they couldn't touch. In the early morning, the surrounding air was a little humid. There were mountains of different heights and forests on both sides of the river. However, compared with the hunting ground, it was much inferior. In the past, when they were still on the other side of the river, they could climb thousands of feet high cliffs and climb over high mountains in the hunting ground. That was a kind of conquest. But here, the mountains were not as high as in the hunting ground, and the beasts here were not as strong as in the hunting ground. However, there were people here, other tribes, and more challengers. Here, the threat of people was far greater than that of the high mountains and fierce beasts. Ao's purpose was achieved. After the incident in the drumming tribe, the people of the Yanjiao tribe had a preliminary understanding of life here, and their mentality had changed. A new challenge, a new life, they had to adapt to conquer. Xiaofan stood at the bow of the boat and told Ao and the two team leaders about the news he had heard from the Pu tribe. In the past 2 years, which tribes had disappeared, and which tribes had no sense of existence before? By the way, Yan Shuo asked me if I could bring some of his acquaintances here. Xian, what do you think? Ao asked. Bring them, not only here, but also the wanderer friends of Yan Ji and the others in the Longboat tribe. We can pick them up when the time comes. Although they don't have strong fighting power, they can help us in other ways. Ao nodded. In this case, you go with Yan Shuo and the others to bring them here. Okay. And, Chief, our tribe is back. The wanderers in Yanjiao may feel it. Xiaofan said. Speaking of the wanderers in the tribe like Yan Ji and the others, Ao was refreshed, indeed. Even if they hadn't reached the old land and lit the fire there, maybe they could meet many wanderers of the Yanjiao tribe. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.